Why would they wreck the song? Is that what you're saying?
No, I've never said that. That's peculiar.
Yeah, it's a bit of a remix. It was out a couple of years ago. It was very popular, actually.
Really? I think you typed Only Girl in the World and that came up by accident.
No.
Honest.
There was a bit of thought playing that.
Lee, have a great weekend.
You too, Greg.
Thanks so very much.
No,
the last couple of hours.
This doesn't mean work. Gotta do it.
You see it as work? Wow, I come here because I love it.
Well,
oh my God, that's
Lee,
cringe.
No, come here.
Go on. We'll get away from work now. Go on.
No, this is in case the boss is listening. Okay. Should be up early this morning because it's on your show.
All right, good luck, Lee.
Right, good luck.
Bye. Glad your work's over. All right, it's the 9 till noon show. We have our Friday panel going to join us very shortly. A great panel as always. But first, let's get a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. An Irishman who was shot in Australia has been named locally as Damien Conlon from County Sligo. Mr. Conlon, who was in his 30s, was found suffering from a gunshot wound at a house in the Oberon area 2 hours outside Sydney. He was treated by paramedics but died at the scene. A 57-year-old man has been arrested and is due in court. The Irish aid agency GOAL says it's going through heartbreak after 26 members of its staff died in earthquakes in Turkey and Syria this week. Some staff members are still unaccounted for. More than 21,000 now confirmed dead in the disaster. The Deputy CEO of GOAL is Mary Van Lieshout.
Much of the week has been to really try to understand, to secure knowledge about where our colleagues were, to account for all of them. It's been an ongoing effort for those who were identified quickly as well and safe. They participated in trying to locate all of their colleagues.
All motorcycle road races, including the iconic Northwest 200, have been cancelled for this year. The Belfast Telegraph reports today the soaring cost of public liability insurance led to the decision last night by the Motorcycle Union of Ireland. A Fianna Fáil MEP says what's coming out of the European Council regarding asylum seekers is solely the narrative of the far right. EU leaders approved tougher rules for asylum seekers whose applications have been denied last night following a surge in migration across member states. MEP Barry Andrews says it's disappointing, adding that the European Council is not looking at both sides of the coin. And Donegal County Council is being urged to give more priority to the development of the prior school building in the Old Lifford Army Barracks as a location at which people can access the Donegal archive. Councillor Jerry Crawford says deals have been made and the council has agreed the move, but there's a lack of momentum and he wants the council to do more.
Prior school was agreed as an excellent location to be the face, to be where the public wanted to interact with the service. There was funding set aside, a budget to set up and look in to see exactly what it would take to make that possible. I feel that hasn't been pushed on hard enough, it's been too sluggish, and that there isn't the proper attention being given to the archive section that I feel should be given to such an important and moving asset.
Cloudy and misty at times this morning with possible outbreaks of light rain or drizzle. Overall, it'll stay largely dry with some occasional sunny spells today. Top temperatures 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, moderate, occasionally fresh west to southwest winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news in full at 10 o'clock.
Morning. The usual, please.
There you go, Aisling.
Thanks. Just what I need.
Perfect. See you tomorrow. When customers shop at independent businesses like mine, they get more and give more because what they spend here multiplies and helps the local economy with a ripple effect that benefits me, but also helps
me. And my independent business too.
Visa. Where you shop matters.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you. Just approaching 4 minutes past 9 on this Friday. It's the 10th of February 2023, and I hope you're very well indeed. I'll introduce our Friday panel to you very shortly, but we want you involved in the conversation, of course. Your WhatsApps and texts come in to us on 086 60 25,000. Give us a call on 07491 25,000, or hop on to your smart TV, your Fire Stick, open up the YouTube app or the Facebook Watch app and watch us on our social media there or directly on our website. Okay, let's say good morning to our guests. We'll start with Maria Walsh, Fine Gael MEP for Midlands Northwest. Maria, lovely to see you again. How are you keeping?
Good, thank you very much for having me on.
And it's great.
Friday.
It's great to have you with us. Leonard Watson, owner of Watson's Menswear and member of Letterkenny Chamber. Good morning, Leonard.
Morning, Greg.
Good to have you with us again. And Mary T. McBride, Defective Blocks campaigner, human rights and global development consultant. Great to have you on the programme, Mary T. How are you keeping?
I'm keeping well, Greg. Thanks. It's great to be back again.
Good stuff. It's great to have you back. Okay, we've quite a bit to get through, so we won't dwell too long on some of these. I shall ask you first, Leonard, for no good reason. Former Taoiseach Bertie Ahern, in other words, no loaded reason, sorry, there's always a good reason to talk to you. Former Taoiseach Bertie Ahern has rejoined Fianna Fáil 11 years after resigning from the party, that following the report of the Mahon Tribunal. Fianna Fáil spokesperson said last night that it received a membership application from Mr Ahern, and this has been accepted by his party. Of course, this comes ahead of the anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, and he's got no intention to run for his old job. He's not ruling himself out. He seems obsessed whether he's going to live till 2025. For every comment seems to be, if I'm still alive, we'll see. But anyway, he probably has an eye on the presidency, and the people will have their say at that time. Does it really matter? Is this not an internal Fianna Fáil matter? A lot of people seem quite vexed by this. Should we be, Leonard?
Joe, Greg, I'd say it is a decisive. There's certain people out there would find this very troubling. That the guy paid €20 to rejoin a party. As you say, does he have his eye in the presidency? Maybe he does. But the people would decide that. Like he's a decisive figure. Like for all the good that he did in the peace process, and that there was parts of his life that was troubling. We could say like his financials weren't just the cleanest. But again, I would still say, as he a good figure maybe to have around now at the moment. I heard Leo Varadkar saying yesterday that he would talk to him from time to time about the peace process, and it's good to have that knowledge of maybe people who were in the room 25 years ago, and how did they play it out, and how did they? At the end of the day, we all want peace in the north. We want to get a government back in there. So I don't know. I think it's an often story at the moment. And again, if he does run for the presidency, the people will decide.
Yeah, but he's been very active, of course, over the last 10 years. He's involved in numerous meetings. He's been all over the north, many border counties. People very interested to see what he has to say about developing peace. You think he has a role to play in that?
I actually think he does, Greg. No different to maybe John Bruton, and a lot of the people that were there at the time. They've all knowledge from what went on, and maybe things that they got caught up on, and maybe how they got through it. And at the end of the day, it's all about talking and getting these things sorted. So, Bertie was a great communicator. In fairness to him, and that end, I think he has something to give here in this here process.
Yep, and I said developing peace meant developing relations in the north and getting things back together. That's what I intended to say. Maria Walsh, what do you think?
I think.
Now, I want you to say what was in your mind just before you decided how you could phrase it a different way.
No. To be honest with you, listen, I a part of me fully agrees with Leonard, and what the media is covering in terms of his historical legacy towards in the rooms and making broker deals around peace. I think his experience is certainly welcomed and necessary. Do I think, as we are suffering from a shortage in women in national politics and politics overall, do I think we should be talking about a man who does not have a positive legacy, certainly towards my generation? Absolutely not. I think I would have much preferred to see Bertie supporting a headline saying former Taoiseach supporting a local candidate or a European candidate or a national candidate from to get into politics and show her the ropes. That's what I'd prefer to be.
So in other words,
about.
rather than a changing of the guard, it's a returning of the guard, sort of a thing.
Absolutely, and to be honest with you, I asked this question to a few of my friends because we are the generation, sadly, that. And I don't think I think probably most of your listeners have family members dotted around the world because of the 2007-2008 financial crash. I think I don't think, while I think his legacy is positive in one sense, my generation I don't think can forgive and forget.
Unfortunately, though, there's a new generation of
absolutely
people who are leaving the country, and that legacy is being written right now for a current crop of politicians.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, I'm not going to hide away from that either. I got into politics to make impact and change, just as well as many in various political parties who are a younger generation, because of what we learned and what we experienced in the financial crash. And that doesn't mean I'm making excuses for this current now, but I don't know. I wasn't happy when I seen the news yesterday, and I know my party leader and Taoiseach Leo Varadkar said it is a Fianna Fáil issue, and that's their house to clean up. But I certainly wasn't enthused or enjoyed reading headlines such as that. And
indeed, Leo Varadkar has softened his cough a little bit in terms of his comments. But time passes, though, and as I said on the show yesterday, maybe there has to be space for people to serve their time and to come back. I mean, as I said yesterday, that's the whole judiciary is built on that basis. But maybe in elected politics, some stuff can be too much. Not that I'm not sure you really look at politics in this way, Maria. But I mean, obviously, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael now are linked. Do you know what I mean? They've been in power for quite some time. Do you believe that this could reflect poorly on your party, that your party is in coalition with another party that has welcomed Bertie Ahern back into the ranks?
No, I don't think so. I'm sure my Fine Gael colleagues who, as I mentioned earlier, got into politics after the financial crash might have something similar to say, like I have. But I don't think it's going to reflect badly on us. I certainly. I don't think it will, because if it did, or we were encouraged to say something different or asked to say something different, like perhaps another political party, and keep the line, that's not the way we do our party business either. And I think ultimately it's Fianna Fáil's issue to look at and deal with, and as we move forward, as all the comments and the events and the anniversaries and hopefully more celebrations in terms of retaining peace on the island of Ireland, Bertie will be at the core of that, no doubt.
And has been again as well, just to be absolutely fair.
Absolutely. He didn't just plant in.
He has been
around for 10 years, yeah.
And he has been present in a lot of the things that we talk of, that have already happened. Mary T, what's your feelings?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Greg, I think what's important for us to is to give a bit of context to this, and the fact that we're in a period of great debate on ethics and standards in public office at the moment. I think trying to rehabilitate a political figure I know Leonard said it was troubling. I would find it a stronger word for it when a tribunal finds that
Leonard's just warming up. Don't worry, he'll get tougher as the hour wears on.
And truthful, regarding, I can't remember, was it 160,000 punt at the time, linked to his accounts. And I suppose, whether it's Bertie or Robert Troy of Fianna Fáil, or Pascal O'Donoghue or Damien English of Fine Gael, regardless of party, your party, I don't think we should be rewarding that type of behaviour by bringing someone back into the fold and potentially having, although not very powerful and more maybe symbolic, but representing our country. I just think that sends a really dangerous message out personally, and I think people are tired of it.
So do you think there'll be a blowback for Fianna Fáil in this decision, that maybe they're not reading the room correctly? Because, of course, he would be held very high. He'd be held for the most part within Fianna Fáil, and I want to recognise this in very high esteem, I'm sure. And I'm not sure it's quite as divisive within the party as other issues might be. So, I want to recognise there's an awful lot of people that think that this is his rightful return as well. But do you think nationally, and obviously the whole population isn't Fianna Fáil, that this will play badly for the party?
I do actually. I mean, I suppose it's very difficult to get a sense of it. There's no polling on it yet or that. But if you look at sort of reactions on social media, which I know can be a bit of an echo chamber, and that, but there seems to be a lot of backlash about this. The fact that they're welcoming him back. The idea that he could potentially represent the country. I honestly think they could be carefully reconsidering it, although you have the likes of Conor Lenihan going out. They're doing a charm offensive about it, saying, he is held in, high regard publicly. And obviously they timed his comeback to coincide with the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. So imagine they'd be reconsidering it, but who knows, you know?
Yeah. Leonard?
No, listen, Greg, I'm not disagreeing with anything, but I would still say he's held in high regard throughout the world, like in America and that there. And if he has a part to play in the next year or so, maybe trying to get the devolved government back up, I think let him at it. Mary T's chatting about there, he could be representing our country. Well, unless the people vote him in, he won't be representing our country, like so. Can I see him going for the presidency? I actually don't. I don't think he'll go for it.
Yeah, I think anywhere he appears, though, he would be seen as representing Ireland. If he was invited to a function in France, he would be viewed over there as a representative of the country. But I do take your point. Maria, Mary T made an interesting comment there in terms of, the echo chambers and reading the room or reading public opinion. I mean, from your perspective, if you want to know what's what, where would you look? Do you know? Because like Bertie Ahern, it's like everything now, and I don't want to sound like a scratched record, but invariably I do as soon as I just say that. But, you're going to be pro-Bertie or anti-Bertie. I don't think, and we probably won't hear from those that are indifferent because they'll just let it wash over them. So from a political perspective, where is the space that you look at to see what the majority of the country thinks on something?
Well, I mean, my space, Mary T made a valid point in terms of the Twitter machine is just a very small percentage and often a large minority. So for me, I get my news from good news sources like people out and about and those. I'm in Athlone today. I head to Moat. So in the Midlands of the country, and really get a pace for what they feel. I'd be surprised though, because I'm out today speaking on mental health more so and meeting with different organisations on the ground. So I'd be interested to see, maybe ask me in a couple of hours whether Bertie's name appears. It seems like it's a certain generation that perhaps will continuously bring up his name. But for me, and rightly so, Mary T's point that social media gives a slanted view. Interesting on the news though last night, where a lot of his own supporters were out and very happy that he was back. And as I said, it's a Fianna Fáil matter. And to Leonard's point, the people will decide in 2025 if he puts his name in the ring and ultimately who is the best candidate to lead us at a national and an international stage in the Áras as president. I certainly won't be found canvassing for him, but maybe because of political lines and issues of the past.
But there's a voting pact, though, isn't there, between Paul and Fine Gael?
No, not from my understanding, Mary T.
Well, Leo announced it there, I believe, if I'm not incorrect, Greg.
We'll have to have a look at that. That's something.
General election, yeah.
First I heard. I
never heard that either, actually.
Never heard that.
I read it in the news. I read it in newspapers. It was Christmas. Yeah.
Is this on the presidential election?
No, for the next general. So you might.
There might be strategies. No, I get where you're coming from. Okay, well, I think that has yet to play out, really, because we have to see which way the wind's blowing closer to that. But I'm sure everyone's leaving their options open indeed. A caller says, I'm disgusted but not surprised. 2008 crash destroyed people's lives. And he's everything that they say is kind of, I won't read exactly what they're saying, but it's sort of, okay. I'm not a Fianna Fáil supporter, but if he's back, let him back. We can't blame the government for everything. The crash was caused by our own greed. Young people's capacity to solve problems is limited. That's what one listener thinks there. I vote Sinn Féin, but I'd rather have two Berties than what we have right now. He did so much for the country in terms of peace. Okay, well, and as I say, there are lots of views, and what we want to hear is all different types of views on this programme. Right, we'll be back with more from our great guests after this short break.
Highland Radio are going to Scotland from Monday the 1st of May to Thursday the 4th of May with the very best of music, and we would love for you to join us. Staying at the 4-star Crown Plaza Hotel in Glasgow, we are bringing with us some of the biggest country stars, including myself, David James, Declan Ernie and Robert Mazzell, to name a few. You will enjoy luxury travel to Glasgow, 3 nights dinner, bed and breakfast with music and entertainment each evening. Join us on the Highland Fling to Glasgow this May for only €575 per person. To book, call Highland Radio today on 074 91 25000. Early booking is advisable. Single supplement applies.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €50 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
In the final clearance at Watson Menswear Letterkenny, there's half-price shirts, polo shirts and knitwear. Also, half-price offers on top labels like Superdry and Penguin. Selected suits and footwear, also half-price. Don't miss out on big savings in the final clearance sale at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com. Also, a great selection of First Communion and Confirmation wear now in stock.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Quick word on this one, too. The European Union leaders have said they would tighten their borders, with some seeking more fences and walls, while others would rather spend the money on improving living conditions in worst off parts of the world. Ireland, the Netherlands, Belgium, Austria and Denmark were among the 27 national leaders meeting in Brussels to express concern about increasing irregular arrivals, with some 330,000 border crossings recorded last year. It's kind of seems to be a bit of a toughening of the stance in Ireland on this matter. Maria, obviously, as a Fine Gael MEP, or as an MEP, sorry, what is happening here? What are they talking about here? I mean, you know, people will instantly think maybe they're talking about the amount of people that would be coming into Ireland as, you know, not necessarily as part of our commitment to the situation in the Ukraine, but from other parts of the world. Is that what they're trying to address here? Because what we're seeing in Ireland at the moment is being seen in many countries across Europe.
Yeah, for multiple years, and for your listeners' case, we at a European level, we do not have a strong enough or a coordinated approach to migration. And migration is widespread. It's the movement of people who are in dire need of protection. We have climate refugees and asylums. We also have those who are being trafficked. Children being smuggled, search and rescue, in which we see on the Mediterranean and multiple other areas of sea. So it's a wide encompassing, and we simply do not have a coordinated approach. We have some countries on the Eastern Bloc, and they often get named in terms of Poland and Hungary and Czech Republic, who are quite strict on how they and what numbers of people they welcome into their country. Given we're the most west periphery, it's based off the percentage of what your population and your country size. So you'll see Germany and France take, I think Germany in the height of 2014 took well over 1 million refugees, and it's a case of more and more people are coming, and if they do, how are they being? I hate to use the word process because I think that's inhumane, but
their application is being processed, not them as individuals. Yeah. Yes,
thank you. And I think that's and as people move, I think as we see what's happening in Turkey and Syria in terms of the earthquake, when we see individuals from African countries and South Africa move through and essentially looking for a safe place to call home. We just do not have enough coordinated effort, and we have a number of countries blocking. I have to say Ireland has always been at the forefront in terms of welcoming in the people that need home. And to everybody's point, I think it's been discussed on this show multiple times. Do we have enough space and capacity? We're absolutely at a squeeze, but I do think that doesn't remove us from our international obligations in terms of giving a safe place for
but there
for
is
people
also
to call home.
There's multiple international obligations, such as a refugee arriving in one country, that country, if I understand it correctly, is supposed to deal with them. But what we're seeing is a lot of refugees arriving in Ireland from countries where there aren't direct flights from, for example.
Yeah, so we have the first country, the safe space. And then often what is happening, or what has happened, is if they have a family member or friend in another country that they are either moved to or take their own mode of transport to that country. There is issues with individuals coming in illegally across every country, not just in the European Union, not just in Ireland. And to the Taoiseach's point, he did an interview yesterday in Brussels, and it was a case of being fair to those who need protection, and to be hard on those who perhaps do not need a safe space.
Do you feel
and are not fleeing and need to be returned back to the country? And,
do you feel this could be
characterised
though as the government hardening its approach? Maybe off the back of protests that we're seeing around the country.
Absolutely not. No, I think as a country, that's not us. And I think something previously said, the loud minority is and getting coverage on press, but certainly not a reflection to this country and not a reflection of the government. And I think it's fair to say for any representative, regardless of the political party, it is not. There is a narrative, though, coming from some countries in Europe around fences, walls, and this Trumpian nonsense. And I haven't seen it, and I would be very surprised if it would come from any representative in Leinster House, and then certainly as Irish representatives in the European Parliament.
All right, Mary T, would you welcome European leaders looking at tightening the borders? I mean, obviously, in terms of, I think fencing and walls is probably nonsense, really. I don't think we'll ever see that.
I think what's important to remember is that no one's illegal, and seeking asylum is a recognised right. And so I agree with Maria, and I think it is positive that hopefully there is a push for more of a coordinated approach at EU level, because that is certainly needed. And would, sort of address, I suppose, the, better planning, I suppose, for, allocation of refugees across the EU. But I think at the same time, we also need a coordinated approach in Ireland to dealing with, immigration at the moment and refugees and asylum seekers. We don't have an all-of-government approach. You have, Roderick O'Gorman, who's being, ad hoc every so often sending out requests for, okay, we need more hotels, we need this. It's just, in the midst of a housing crisis already, it beggars belief that we're still in this situation where, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Green Party cannot get it together to come up with a coordinated whole-of-government approach to dealing with...
And in fairness, though, we haven't seen really any solutions coming from the opposition either. I think it has to be said at this point. I mean, if there were a blueprint that was on offer post-next general election, we don't really know how any party or non-party person might propose to deal with all of the issues which are interconnected.
Well, I wouldn't say that's completely true. I remember watching there last week, a staggering figure from Rosemary Conway Walsh of Sinn Féin saying that, why aren't we looking properly? And this has been said for over a year now since the Ukrainian war started. Why aren't we looking at holiday homes? There are so many vacant holiday homes. She said 10,000 in Mayo alone was the figure. And all of the derelict buildings that are, around.
Well, it would have been very interested if the millions upon millions of euros that were pumped into a limited enough number of individuals and into hotel accommodation, whatever, if that actually had been distributed, in other words, people had been given more of an incentive to give up some of their property or a holiday home. It'd be very interesting to see where we are at now, because we know in Donegal very few people were taken up on offers of their property, because instead they were being pumped into overcrowded rooms, hotels, not really suitable accommodation. So, I think a lot of mistakes were made some time back. And just before I bring Leonard in, right, because Leo Varadkar's talking about illegal immigrants. He's talking about people traffickers. And then they're also talking about people coming in from outside Europe on an irregular basis. Who are they talking about, really, from your perspective, Mary T? Because as you say, everyone's entitled to seek asylum. Is that what you said? So is there a group of individuals here that they're skirting around talking about? Because I would like to know what exactly they're talking about.
Exactly, Greg. That's a really good question. And I also had the very same question myself, because, what does irregular mean? Someone fleeing war, someone fleeing persecution, the impacts of climate change and famine.
They're not arriving into Ireland on blow-up dinghies, so I don't know, you know what I mean? So maybe that language kind of would fit in with what we've heard from Downing Street from time to time, but I don't know who Leonard, I'm going to bring you right in now, but just in case Maria has an insight this from a European perspective, who are they actually talking about?
I think they must be chatting with people who come from safe countries. Like you say, there's a narrative come out of the UK, is it Bulgaria, that 30,000 have landed from Bulgaria, seeking asylum in the UK. From my perspective, I just think that all governments have been caught in the back foot. Like even in Ireland, in the last year and a half, 80,000 people come in. How do you actually get living accommodation for that kind of numbers? I just think the government have been caught on the back foot, as on the fact that Donegal, you have 6,000 or 7,000 people being accommodated in Donegal, which that's fine. And then you go to places like counties around Dublin, 1,900 people. We have 1,400 children here in National School. That's 10% of the population that has come into the country. They need to start, coordinate up around the country. It's very easy, just as you said, you have certain people providing accommodation in certain areas and making money out of it, Greg, and just push them all that way. There's no coordination here at all. To make it fair around the country. We all have our duty to help these people, but I just think it should be done in a fair way.
Yeah, Maria, who are these people they're talking of?
Well,
do you agree with Leonard?
To Leonard's point, from my work in the European Parliament on the Fundamental Rights Committee, what we often look at in areas of migration is those that are not in countries of war-torn conflicts, or are not under persecution, and are just looking for a better way of life. Exactly as thousands of Irish have done for generations, and cities like Boston didn't turn away thousands of others based off geographic size either. So I think there is a coordinated effort, an issue, and much joint up thinking needed. I agree with both on that, but I also think when movements of people are coming in, it's very in multiple wars, not just the war against Ukraine, not just the humanitarian crisis that we see in Turkey and Syria right now, but they also create impact too as people arrive, and we need to put people and move people safely and securely with their families if they arrive with them, and on the positive, though, I must say, I spoke to many teachers at national school level who are only delighted that people have moved in.
A lot of schools have been saved by that. Exactly.
So there's pros and cons to all. I fundamentally think, though, the issue is we simply are not communicating effectively, and we're not having conversations with communities. And that's something I think we certainly need to address. And I say that as a Fine Gael representative and as a European Parliament representative, because it's not just Ireland that's impacted.
In terms of communicating, would you be in favour of consultation?
Well, if we can call it whatever we want, a consultation, openness, dialogue, looking at different cultures, and then also being real about, as I just mentioned, in terms of school numbers have increased, teachers have been more secure in terms of numbers. We have skill shortages in terms of local small businesses that are needing support. So I think there's a lot of pros and cons to everything, and ultimately the fundamental piece of keeping people safe and welcoming, and reducing the small minority that is very, very loud.
But Marity,
it's something that I think we should all echo and be proud of, that we're welcoming people into our country.
I do, and Marity, I have to mention the elephant in the room before we move on here. And Maria quite rightly points out, people should feel welcomed and safe, but you know, there's an awful lot of people in this county and in this country that don't feel safe where they are either. And I think that is always going to complicate this country's response to everything, because there's an awful lot of people, and not least here in Donegal, that don't have somewhere safe to live, that don't feel safe in their homes, that can't get accommodation themselves. And I don't know how you're ever going to message this in a way that makes them feel any better about their situations.
Well, I think, you know, remember last week there was big discussion about this with regards to, you know, what provides a fertile kind of breeding ground for, let's say, far right or for discontent. But specifically, I think you're referring to the defective concrete crisis in Donegal. You know, and we have to remember we've upwards of 7,000 homes that, you know, are in various stages of decay. Because of light touch, no regulation for decades. And, you know, the situation there is we've families trapped in very dangerous, unsafe homes with nowhere to go because, you know, there's nothing to rent. Anything that's been available has now, as we know, been taken over to respond, and rightly so, to the Ukrainian refugee crisis. But again, you know, the anger shouldn't be directed towards, you know, people fleeing conflict. Because at the same time, Greg, as you know, we heard just this week that the Donegal County Council are refusing to even approach the Department of Housing to propose that they could take on a modular home scheme to try as a solution to try and rehome families affected by defective concrete. So, you know, for me, you need to kind of look at where you need to apportion blame in all of this. The resourcing issue has not to do with a refugee, you know, entering this country and seeking safety. It is absolutely with our government. You know, they're time and time again, they're failing people, they're failing refugees as well, because let's not forget, you know, we have an apartheid system, for want of a better word, in terms of how we treat refugees coming into this country. And it seems to be on the basis of your color of your skin or your country of origin, which is appalling. So they're, you know, desperately failing refugees, some of which, as we've seen as well, have been forced to sleep in tents and make their own encampments and then have been attacked. And then at the same time, you have defective concrete homeowners who are failed by the government again. So it's very easy to kind of...
it's easier to blame, perhaps, refugees than it is the decision makers, is it?
Yes, exactly. It's absolutely the decision makers. We have the solutions, you know, just implement them.
Leonard?
I'm kind of going to contradict Marty. I know what you're saying, Marty, but you said there about thousands of holiday homes. What are we going to do with these holiday homes when it comes to June and July, when these owners comes back? I agree the government needs to get ahead of this. I agree on the MICA thing. You know, hopefully in the next year or so, we're going to have hundreds of families getting their houses rebuilt. These people need somewhere to live. Rents have doubled in around certain parts of Donegal, which is it's not sustainable. But to just say that there should be a solution, you can't bring 80 or 90,000 people into a country and just home them straight away.
But Leonard, just to that, and I'm not cutting across you or contradicting you. We have a population in excess of 5 million, right? I'm not great in percentages. 70,000 people, if we use that number, you know, what is it, between 1% and 2%, something like that there? I mean, it doesn't say an awful lot for what we had or our infrastructure or our planning if, you know, an extra 2% can cause all of these problems. I mean, that, you know, it's a very small amount of people. But relative to the overall population.
Storm too, like, you know, since COVID, building has just stopped. The cost of building has gone through the roof. Like, it's just not viable for some people to build houses now. Like, you know, and after the crash, just everything just stopped. We've been just caught in a perfect storm. That's not an excuse to say we shouldn't be able to house these people. Like, but we have a storm coming in Donegal in the next couple of years. You know, we're going to need hundreds of houses for families, like, just so they can move out and get their house rebuilt. And that's what I'm on about, Greg, about the fairness, about moving people around the county. You know, we have now, I think, it's up to 7,000 asylum seekers in the county. and you have other counties that are probably more wealthy than Donegal, probably in better shape, and they've a third of that number, like, you know.
Yeah, but I don't think we're taking any more in at the moment. I think it's been accepted that in terms of our services, that Donegal is at capacity. A caller says, the Irish have worked and helped to build any country they immigrated to in the past and continue to do so. They also contributed to the economy of that country by paying rent and spending their money in the country, and I could go on and on and on. I respect everyone's point of view, but I also want to recognise the fact that pre the war on Ukraine, that 1 in 10 people in Donegal, 10% of the population, are not Irish. And that doesn't, they're here working, contributing, working in the health service. 15% around the country are not Irish. They've always been here. They're working in many different types of job, providing vital services. We're talking as if like we were just, this homogenous group of people up until about, 12 months ago. We have in this county alone 15,000 people doing exactly what the young people leaving and going to Australia are doing now. They're over there, living there, working there, making their lives there. This is, as I say, pre-war, Maria. I think we need to recognise that and recognise the fact that 1 in 10 people listening to this show may well be not Irish and feel like they're going, well, hold on a second. I've been part of this community for 20, 30 years or whatever it might be,
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've a really proud tradition of the Coin, the Céad Míle Fáilte, and people have called. I think that's probably one of our greatest success stories of joining the EU 50 years ago. That our country has developed and grown, and Ireland Inc. has welcomed in not just Europeans but further afield, and people have called the likes of Donegal the most west periphery of our European Union home. I do take the point from both Mary T and Leonard. There needs to be a coordinated approach. We absolutely need movement and a positive 100% redress system for families affected by the defected block scandal, and that's what it is. But that absolutely cannot also take away from, to your Greg's point, that people are calling Ireland their home, and I hope they continue to do so, and that they don't hear that loud minority online or through the deep dark web of other channels and think Ireland is not a welcoming space, because that's certainly not where we are, and I would hope many of your listeners would also agree with that.
All right, let's take a quick break. Back with more.
Weanling trade is on fire. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
As weaning prices keep climbing, we look at what's driving demand. Sheep farmers await Competition Authority investigation on Kildare chilling sale. As lambing season kicks off, our special focus advises on how to keep a lid on costs. New TAM scheme. Find out what new equipment and grant rates you can apply for. Factories pushing beef farmers to cut emissions by 30%. And we examine how farm partnerships can break down.
Only inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal.
Greener choices are the key to a sustainable future. That's why Energia is leading the way in renewable energy technologies like wind, solar, and battery storage. Because the choices we all make today will change how we live tomorrow.
The choices we make determine where we're going. Where will your choices take you? Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles, and join the thousands of Irish drivers who swap diesel for Toyota hybrid electric, lowering their emissions and fuel costs. We've Ireland's widest hybrid electric range, including the Toyota CHR and Yaris Cross. Don't miss out. Order today at Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world.
In the final clearance at Watson Menswear Letterkenny, there's half-price shirts, polo shirts and knitwear. Also, half-price offers on top labels like Superdry and Penguin. Selected suits and footwear, also half-price. Don't miss out on big savings in the final clearance sale at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com. Also, a great selection of First Communion and Confirmation wear now in stock.
The world awaits you. Make that dream your next adventure. Cruise the Caribbean. Sail from Crete to Corsica. Soak in Santorini sunsets. Dine on the shores of the Indian Ocean. Stroll through cobbled streets for hidden gems, or bring the little ones to a magical wonderland. Trust the award-winning Atlantic Travel to guide your next adventure. Step through our doorway to the world. Atlantic Travel, Letterkenny.
Did you know children's feet grow every 3 months? At McElhenney's Kids Department, our experts are ready to help you find the perfect fit for your little one. Browse our collection of kids' shoes from leading brands including Pavlovsky, Geox, Skechers and more at McElhenney's online or call in store to find the right size with our free expert shoe fitting service.
At AIB, we know business owners make hundreds of decisions every day. Some small, some monumental, all of them important. We're here to make one big decision a whole lot easier. Change your business current account to AIB in just a few simple steps so you can get back to business. Search Why AIB for more information. AIB, let's get to work. Terms and conditions apply. Allied Irish Banks PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Don't know if you know Alison Pat. Late 40s, couple of kids, been together 17 years. Never married, of course, but that's not a problem. Until something happens, and suddenly words like unmarried, inheritance, and substantial tax bill enter the equation. You never need proper estate planning. Until you do. That's why the experienced team at McElhenney & Associates are here to help. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranola.
Wet n Wild is celebrating 20 years in business with a massive 20% off absolutely every product in store in February. Choose any top outdoor brand product in store and we will deduct 20% of all prices at the till. Buy premium quality outdoor clothing, footwear and equipment today and save 20%.
For the perfect gift for Valentine's Day, you can't go wrong with perfume. And you won't go wrong at McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. If she is a firm favourite, McGee's have all the top names like Chanel, Calvin Klein, Gucci and Giorgio Armani. Also Dolce & Gabbana, Lancôme, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Paco Rabanne and many more. Get the perfect gift at the perfect price this Valentine's Day at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. Or order online at mcgees.ie.
Wild Atlantic Way adventures await you this spring with a midweek escape to the luxury Radisson Blu Hotel and Spa, Sligo. From just €120 with complimentary breakfast each morning. Indulge in afternoon tea overlooking Sligo Bay. Unwind with a treatment at the spa. Enjoy a delicious meal in the brasserie. Sit back and relax in Waves Bar or surround yourself with the best of Sligo's outdoor pursuits right on your doorstep. Book now at radsligo.com for the perfect spring midweek escape.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. From March 26th, Aer Lingus will operate a daily service to London Heathrow, providing onward connections to 80 plus destinations worldwide. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Today will be quite cloudy and perhaps misty at times. This morning with possible outbreaks of light rain or drizzle. I can tell you they are happening right as we speak. Overall, plenty of dry weather today with some occasional sunny spells. Highest temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees in moderate, occasionally fresh west to southwest winds. Now, our guest today, and I should mention this more regularly, I normally do, Maria Walsh, Fine Gael MEP for Midlands North West, Mary T. McBride, Defective Blocks campaigner, human rights and global development consultant, and Leonard Watson, owner of Watson's Menswear and member of Letterkenny Chamber. And we hear you in other capacities as well, Leonard, a very important voice in the region, I believe. We really should be speaking about this for very much longer, but just maybe to start the conversation and be conscious that we have to have it, I suppose, in the right way too. But I would be very concerned, and I've expressed it on the show, and want to know what we can do, either as a programme, as a station, or as a society, to tackle, which has been referenced by both the coroner and on Garda Síochána, the level of suicide in this county. And I have to say too, particularly amongst young people, I know far too many people, or once or twice removed, who have taken their lives in recent times. Leonard Watson, as I say, we have to be, I'm conscious that I don't want to trigger anyone who's not in a good place at the moment, and we'll have some information a little later on that we hope people will avail of if they do feel like that. But we're going to have to come up with something coordinated, I think, to treat this like I don't want to put a word on it, but But there's an awful lot happening, and it's not anecdotal. It's the information is there, and it's worrying. It's very, very, very worrying to me.
You know what, Greg? You're right. Unfortunately, we all know too many people that, for some reason or other, have decided that they just want to take their life, and it's an awful thing to think that you're in that space where you think there's no alternative. It's getting people into a space where they see there is an alternative. Like, I remember chatting to a guy a couple of years ago who would have had a serious drink problem, but he got out through the other side. He's very successful now. And like I said to him, you're the kind of person who should be sent in through schools. You were the guy that was at his lowest ebb but came back. It's needed showing these people that there is an alternative. That there's people out there that can help them. Groups like AA, groups like Pieta House, that for years they were saying that young men didn't talk, they wouldn't talk about their troubles, and I would always say the few of the people that I would have known that maybe took their lives, they were the happiest person in the room when you went into that room. They were the life and soul of the party. And that was the scary part, where you never seen it coming. So, as you say, Greg, we need to get to a space where people feel there's help there for them, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And should that be around mental health services? I would be very critical of that too. I don't think the services are updated. You're hearing people about going into the service, and after a day or two are being put back out of the service, and just once they tell a doctor, "Oh, I feel okay," that's okay, and that's not okay. It's very, very easy just to say, "Well, they said they're okay." I always remember a priest telling me a story, Greg, one time where a mother rang him and begged him to ring the hospital to get them to keep her son in, and the priest rang the hospital, and the nurse said he was Japanese. She says, "Yeah, I know what you're saying, but there's nothing I can do." He's told the doctor he's okay. 2 days later, that young man took his life, and that's not good. It's not good enough,
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are serious gaps, right? But we have had. I don't think we've ever had any more support groups. I don't think we've had any more awareness and conversation in our schools. Yet we are seeing record numbers of young people presenting with mental health problems, self-harming, and still, even though we talk about it, right? It continues to happen, and it's happening in greater numbers now. Mary T, I don't know if we need to rip up the approach, not in terms of the services or what have you, and relook at how we're dealing with this, because as I say, and I'm open to correction on this, but I don't recall there ever being as much in terms of first protocol supports in the schools, people being supported in schools, right? Some great policies in schools, and as I say, we've saw statistics recently that an awful lot of people are still suffering greatly with their mental health. So I don't know. I just feel we maybe need to retain what we have, but start at the beginning as to what's happening here.
Well, I will actually contradict you, Greg, if you don't mind. But we just have to kind of give a bit of context. So in Ireland, and Maria will know this, and we are consistently among the highest in Europe when it comes to youth suicide. We're always in the top 10. Other countries have improved their numbers over the years, but we just seem to remain the same. And then let's not forget, it was just this morning that the United Nations Child Rights Committee has said it's seriously concerned, quote unquote, by Ireland's lack of and inadequate mental health services for children, noting that some of them are waiting for over a year. A year is a long time for anyone, including an adult, to, wait for desperately needed mental health support, early intervention like talking therapies and that. But for a child, that's a lifetime. I mean, it's just cruel. So, I would disagree.
The gaps that I talked of were in terms of the gaps that I was referencing, and you know much more about this than I, were the supports, right? But I was trying to choose my words so as to not to discourage someone who feels that they need help, seeking help in the first instance, okay?
Absolutely.
So that's what I was trying to avoid. But I know in schools, there's an awful lot of work being done to have a conversation. But I understand exactly where you're coming from, and maybe we need to be a little bit more frank in the conversation. So continue your point there, Mary T, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There are great services out there. And, even just thinking about big mental health crisis we have here in Donegal is again linked to the whole MICA issue and defective concrete homeowners. Remember, was it at the end of 2021, the MICA Action Group did a survey of homeowners, and it was just staggering. 96% had reported that they had, what they would consider good mental health prior to discovering that they had defective concrete in their home. And afterwards, 84% now have mental health issues, with 25% suffering from depression. And they're, through IFAN, Initial Development Partnership and DLDC, they have put out supports, mental health supports. But again, they are there for people to reach out and others. But I just think there needs to be more resourcing, more of them. Yeah.
Maria Walsh, I know this is something you're passionate about, and you're even speaking about it this morning. And the time got away, this one, but I want to return to this one in a more meaningful way, as we always do, but just particularly, what's your views, though, for the last few moments that we have, the last few minutes? There's no panic on you, just say whatever you want to say, Maria.
Yeah, no, and I want to acknowledge, because you are a great champion of breaking down the stigma and discrimination around mental health, so I give credit to you, Greg, because you're always choosing your words and making sure people are safe in their home listening to you, and I think that's incredibly important. I think to both Leonard's and Mary T's point, you asked for a word earlier on, and I think we're in a silent pandemic when it comes to mental health, and we have been for generations. It's not just in the last months or years, it's generations. Death by suicide is our second leading cause of death for young people across Europe. And ultimately, where I would see and want to see this going is exactly how we treated COVID. We have expertise right across Europe, indeed across the world. We're so technologically connected and driven that there's expertise that we can bring in, and we're failing. We're failing the generations to come. And when you look at, and I often, I have no problem taking swipes at my own lads and ladies when I need to, in terms of Fine Gael and government, I have called endless times for an increase of mental health spend. We're in and around 5 or 6%. We should be at 12%, like the WHO recommends. But there's an amazing resources, to your point, Greg, in Jigsaw, in Letterkenny, in a multitude of community groups, in schools that are doing wellbeing programs. So there's always a safe space to go and speak to somebody. But I think each and every one of us has an opportunity to upskill and reskill in our mental health training in terms of active listening. When you ask someone, how are you? Are we waiting for the answer? And that's just a basic necessity I think we need, but we certainly need to go to places like incentives to make sure people are looking at the mental health services as a career, and not just falling into it in a reactive measure because someone in their family unfortunately took their own life or suffered from depression or eating disorder, which we are seeing arise. So I want to make sure my few words are one of encouragement. There's a lot going on, both online and offline. There's so many places and spaces to go and seek support. So I just ask anybody listening today is listening tomorrow and the days ahead, and know that there's support there. And actively, I think all four of us are in our own networks are making sure as much change can be called on and faster.
All right, we'll continue talking about that on this programme, but as I say, I want to come back to it in a long time format, and I'd be delighted if at least some of you could join in that conversation. Maria Walsh, as always, thank you very much for your time. Great to have you on the programme. And Mary T, quite rightly pointing out the gaps, and we all know people that have been waiting to access to CAMHS for 6-12 months. That is a huge part of it, and I fully recognise that, and your experience, your knowledge in this area. So thank you very much for your input. I really do appreciate it.
Right.
Take care of yourself, Mary Theresa McBride, and last but certainly not least, Leonard Watson, as always. Leonard, great to have you back. It's been a while. Take care of yourself.
Thanks very much, Greg.
All right, thank you very much indeed. All right, we'll be back after the news and obituary notices.
We at Highland Radio love Irish music, and we want to show our support. Throughout Irish Music Month this March, in partnership with Hot Press Magazine, we're asking you to support the Irish musicians, artists and bands who make every party, every drive home and every day magic. That's right. To celebrate Irish Music Month on Highland Radio, we're asking you to support Irish artists and musicians by buying Irish albums, Irish tickets, Irish t-shirts and Irish music merch. Irish musicians have shown that they are right up there with the best in the world, So let's support them by buying Irish. Proudly supported by Highland Radio, Hot Press, IBI and the BAI Sound and Vision Fund.
Take something old and make it new with the Vacant Property Refurbishment Grant. Get up to €30,000 for a vacant property or €50,000 for a derelict property to help you create your new home. Plus, the scheme now includes cities, towns, villages and all rural areas, so there are more options than ever. Breathe new life into an old home. Head to gov.ie/vacancy for more information on how to apply. An initiative of the Government of Ireland.
With 231 well underway, are you calling in for a look? Sure, call in for a cup of tea or a coffee and let our sales executives show you the options available in our new Kia range. With an unbeatable range of vehicles, there's only one garage to visit for your next purchase, and that's iMotors. Visit us in Letterkenny or Malin, or visit imotors.ie.
Banking can make you feel a bit, So why not switch to a provider that helps you take control of your finances? The An Post Money current account lets you see exactly what's going on with your money and gives you control with the tap of a button. Switch with the An Post Money app or pop into one of our 900 plus post offices. You don't even need to make an appointment. Take back power over your money today. An Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
Like to eat well all week at amazing Aldi prices? I like the sound of that. Feed your family for €5 with a delicious chicken casserole. And from February 2nd, enjoy Super 6 fresh meat offers, like specially selected Irish Angus steak mince 5% fat, now only $3.99. And try our Aldi Savers offers, like Mamiya mini size 2 nappies 60 pack, save 32%, now only $1.79. I don't like it, I love it. Aldi, every day amazing.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Jade McClafferty with your news at 10 o'clock. A man has been remanded in custody after being charged with the murder of an Irishman in Australia. Damien Conlon died after being found with a gunshot wound in Oberon about 2 hours outside Sydney on Thursday. 57-year-old Luke Simon appeared in court, charged with Mr Conlon's murder, and is due to appear again on April 5th. The Irish aid agency GOAL says it's going through heartbreak after 26 members of its staff died following the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. It says some staff members are still unaccounted for. More than 21,000 people are confirmed to have died in the disaster. Deputy CEO of GOAL, Mary Liz Hout, says the impact of the earthquake has been devastating.
Much of the week has been, to really try to understand, to secure knowledge about where our colleagues were, to account for all of them. It's been an ongoing effort for those who were identified quickly as well and safe. They participated in trying to locate all of their colleagues.
Donegal County Council is being urged to give more priority to the development of the Prior School building in the old Lifford Army Barracks as a location at which people can access the Donegal archive. Councillor Jerry Crawford told Highland Radio News that the council has agreed to the move and some money was set aside at the last budget meeting. However, he's unhappy with what he says is a lack of momentum, and he's calling on the council to be more proactive.
Prior School was agreed as an excellent location to be the face to be where the public want to interact with the service. There was funding set aside, a budget to set up and look in to see exactly what it would take to make that possible. I feel that hasn't been pushed on hard enough. It's been too sluggish, and that there isn't the proper attention being given to the archive section that I feel should be given to such an important and moving asset.
The iconic Northwest 200 and all other motorcycle road races in Northern Ireland have been cancelled this year. The Belfast Telegraph today reports the soaring cost of public liability insurance led to the decision last night by the Motorcycle Union of Ireland. With cost to club exceeding €50,000, they say national road races have seen rates treble since 2022. The major fishing representative bodies have again come together as EU-Norway fishery talks enter a fifth round. E. O'Donnell, Chief Executive of the Irish Fish Producers Organisation, says industry representatives have worked closely together to press for a fair and meaningful reciprocal deal for Ireland. He says while the process is dragging on, it is better to have no deal than to have a bad deal. Donna Marie Doherty has more.
Speaking in Brussels, Mr O'Donnell said the key challenge at the moment is Norway's demand for new and additional access to Ireland's blue whiting grounds. He stressed that if the EU wants to strike a deal for such additional access, there must be some adequate compensation for the Irish fishing industry, particularly as it comes at a time when the Irish fleet is still reeling from the Brexit legacy. Sean O'Donoghue, CEO of the Kellybegs Fishermen's Organisation, added the industry has been highlighting the critical importance of this issue since the start of these negotiations, and the EU should not be granting this additional access unless it is paid for by the transfer back of blue whiting quota to Ireland. Brendan Byrne of the Irish Fish Processors Exporters Association said Ireland is facing into the worst year in its fishing processing history, with Brexit quota cuts continuing to bite hard along some fishery closures. He said it's time for the EU to recognise this and strike a fair deal for Ireland.
2 Donegal attractions have been honoured by CIE Tours as the company's first award ceremony since the COVID-19 pandemic. The CIE Tours annual awards of excellence honour the facilities and attractions which most impress the 25,000 US visitors the company brings to Ireland each year. Donald Kavanagh has more.
At last night's awards ceremony, Donegal Castle and the Schlieveleague Cliffs both received Merit Awards in the Visitor Attraction category. Merit Awards are presented to hotels and attractions which achieved a customer satisfaction rating of 92% or higher from CIE Tours visitors to Ireland last year. Speaking at the presentation, CIE Tours CEO Elizabeth Crabble said the Irish holiday experience is unique and its popularity is very evident in the strong rebound that was witnessed once international travel reopened. She paid tribute to the resilience of their tourism partners who, having had a very difficult few years, enthusiastically welcomed back visitors. Ms Crabble added bookings for the coming season are ahead of expectations and 2023 looks set to be a very positive year for tourism in Ireland.
And now for the weather. Quite cloudy today and perhaps misty at times with possible outbreaks of light rain or drizzle. Overall, plenty of dry weather with occasional sunny spells with highest temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees. That's all for now and we'll be back with more at 11 o'clock.
The obituary notices for this Friday morning, the 10th of February. The death has taken place of Jimmy Vicky O'Gallagher, Stramartin, Derrybeg. His remains will repose at the family home today and tomorrow from 12 p.m. until 8 p.m. with rosary each evening at 8. Funeral Mass on Sunday morning at 11 in St Mary's Chapel, Derrybeg, with interment afterwards in Maharagallen Cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to the Donegal Hospice. The sudden death has taken place of Hugh O'Donnell, Dunlewy, Gweedore. His remains will repose at his home from 4 o'clock on Saturday until Rosary at 9 and again on Sunday from 3 o'clock to 6:30. Removal to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Dunlewy for 7 o'clock, reposing overnight. Funeral Mass on Monday morning at 11 with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has taken place of Kathleen Lapsley, 36, Ardwillan Convoy, formerly of 297 St Eunan's Terrace, Raphoe. Her remains are reposing at her brother-in-law Tony Sweeney's home at 36 Ardwillan Convoy. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 for 2 o'clock funeral service in St Eunan's Cathedral, Raphoe, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. All floral tributes welcome. House private please from 11 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of John McCormick, Key Street, Moville. John's remains are reposing at his home with family time please from 11 o'clock tonight. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 in St Mary's Church, Ballybrack, Moville, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please. Donations if desired to Nazareth House Fawn Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member. The death has taken place of May Brown, née Ross, Creetland, St Johnson. Funeral from her home tomorrow morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in St. Bathans Church, St. Johnson at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Donegal Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock tonight. The death has occurred of Katrina Redmond, 72, Ashlawn, Letterkenny, reposing at her late residence from 2 o'clock to 9 o'clock today. Funeral from there tomorrow morning to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Ballyrain, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed online at the Church of the Irish Martyrs YouTube channel, followed by burial in Cornwall Cemetery. Family time, please, on the morning of the funeral. Flowers welcome, or donations if desired, to the Oncology Unit, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Ilish Carol McBride, the Chaparral, Broad Road Convoy. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 12:15 for 1 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church Convoy, with burial afterwards in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. All flowers welcome. The death has occurred of Margaret McCafferty, Boyle, Mill Road, Dunlow, formerly of Leigh-Brana, Arranmore Island. Her remains are reposing at her home from 11 o'clock this morning. Funeral Mass tomorrow at 11 in St Cronus Church, Dunlow, with interment afterwards in Quitch Island Cemetery. Mass can be viewed live on the St Cronus Church webcam. Family flowers only, please. The death has occurred of John Bradley, Fanad, Donegal, Warren Point, County Down, Belfast, County Antrim and Crawley, England. John's remains are reposing at St Mary's Church, Fanavolti in Fanad. Requiem Mass this morning at 11 with burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the St Mary's Fanavolti and St Columba's Mass Mount Facebook page. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the St Vincent de Paul, care of any family member, or McAteer Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Elizabeth Lizzie Gordon, Domain Convoy. Funeral from her late residence this morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church Convoy, followed by burial in the family plot in Ahiarn Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired to the Irish Cancer Society, care of any family member, or Terence McClintock, Funeral Director. House private, please, before the funeral. The death has taken place of Gertie McDade, née Devine, Letterkenny Road, Lifford, reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Felix presents. I can't believe you're actually here. Robbie Williams.
Fame can take a lot of getting used to.
And Felix! Two legends, one stage.
It's great to be a cat.
Catch the fun at felixandrobbie.com. Purina.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday the 10th of February. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S10. It's game number 6. The numbers are 65, 29, 27, 26, 67, 50, 5, 56, 32, and finally 89. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Super Value makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. We match Aldi on the products you love. 2. Great Valentine's special offers like Super Value Fresh Irish Strip Loin Steak, save 33%. Screaming Devil Rosé, €12. And 3. Money off vouchers every week on the app. So, follow the 1, 2, 3 and save money at Super Value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Hello, thanks for waiting. Could you hold the line?
Yeah, no problem.
Now, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm looking to make some updates to my insurance policy.
Have you tried our online portal?
I thought it would be easier to call.
Yeah. No. You're going to have to log on to amend your policy. Thanks for calling.
No, wait. I don't know my password.
Get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want to talk to you? At Local Insurance, we understand your needs. Call today for a bespoke quote or find us online at localinsurance.ie. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
PDO Thread Lifts, the ultimate non-surgical lift for the skin, improving facial contours, lifting and tightening jowls, the neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor, 07495 325 75.
Okay, you're very welcome back following the news, obituary notices and the quick break. It's good to have you back on the show. Some of the callers here are saying, will Bertie give up his state pension? Another, who introduced self-regulation in the building trade, including mica blocks in houses in Donegal? Bertie Ahern will sort out that mess. Another, I think it would be a big loss for Donegal if now, Doc, we're lost. I had such a bad experience down the country. Okay, that's a random one in on that issue. Remind Maria Walsh that the Irish went to work throughout the world not to get a free ride with handouts. Again, I'll just point out that 10% of the population of Donegal pre the war on Ukraine, and I'm just conscious in case they're listening and feel offended, live, work and have made their lives here as well, and I presume others are looking to attain that the same as we do when we travel abroad, as you've just quite rightly pointed out. My employer offered 4 houses at the start and nobody got back to him. He eventually gave up. It seems to be a few individuals who are getting the money. I know half a dozen people who, even under the latest round, 160 odd people, you know, the latest round of a call out for homes, how many of them have been accommodated now at this stage, or how many of them have been used for accommodation? Fianna Fáil, living in the past. Bertie done a lot of good, but also a lot of bad decisions. I mean, he's not going to run for the party again. They just have welcomed him back as a member, and he believes he's got a role in progressing the situation in Northern Ireland and elsewhere. A caller says, why should someone with a holiday home be forced to give it up to solve a problem? No one should be forced to give up any type of their housing to fix a problem, but they should be given proper compensation for it if they choose to. You know, and that's what I was referencing. All the money seems to have gone, you know, in certain areas. If that money had been given to people with holiday homes, they may have been able to, they might have been encouraged to do so, but they weren't. They were offered 400 quid or something. 5,000 asylum seekers could not produce any documentation. That is worrying. And the government's accepting that's the situation at this stage. That being said, they are all photographed and fingerprinted and what have you. Political parties should be not be setting up hospital groups, especially as some are against abortion. That's I presume a reference to Aintu. But does everyone agree with every element of healthcare either? Do you know what I mean? I mean, presumably you can have a stance on an issue that is, you know, that is a part of hospital care, but still at the same time seek for a hospital to be improved in other areas, can't you? It's a question, not a statement. A caller says every country needs border controls. Try to get into Australia, New Zealand, USA and many more without the right documentation. I want to mention that there's a raffle taking place in Buncrana Post Office today to win a number of hampers. It's to raise funds for Pieta House. So if you want to support Pieta House and potentially win a number of hampers, or one of a number, don't forget you can enter that raffle at Buncrana Post Office. Donna Marie, I'll just have the details of our next guest there, please, if you don't mind. I forgot to bring them in with me. If we keep changing our religion to please people, it's more or else non-existent. So many changes have happened with scandals. To me, I don't know what to believe anymore. Yeah, I can understand how it can be difficult to sort of find your place or space in all of it, especially if it might feel like the goalposts are changing. Can I identify with that parent concerned about drugs in Inishowen? Same story. Guards not interested, don't seem to understand the principle that a drug dealer is like pollution, eventually becomes rotten. No one wants to hear. And are more of you out there, more parents? That's just off the back of a caller who's from Inishowen. The young people in their house, or at least one of them, have now began taking drugs. They believe they know where they're getting them. They believe they've passed that information on to An Garda Síochána. They feel nothing is being done, and they're effectively losing their children from a Thursday to a Sunday as they go on a drugs binge, and I don't think they are on their own. Right, we're joined on the programme now by Sinn Féin Deputy Pearse Doherty. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us, Pearse.
Good morning to you, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Right, we're speaking in the context of the Donegal People's Assembly. It's taking place at the Ballard Arts Centre, Ballybofey, this coming Monday, the 13th of February, starts at 7 p.m. What is the purpose of this?
Well, the purpose of this, Greg, is it's an initiative by Sinn Féin for a start off. So we've had two people's assemblies already, one in Belfast and one in Derry, and they've been very, very successful. People are able to make commissions or make submissions in relation to where they see the future of Ireland, the challenges, the obstacles, the opportunities. So people can make submissions, and we've had a large number of submissions already. So you can do that through the Sinn Féin website, and the submissions will be published, or a range of them will be published at the end of these meetings. So the Donegal leg, as you said, is in the Ballard Theatre at 7 o'clock. And what this is about a conversation on Irish unity. What will a new Ireland look like? I've spoken on your show before. I'm an Irish Republican. I get up every morning. I want to see an Irish unity. That's my raison d'etre. I believe it's in the interest of everybody. I think we will have a better health service, better education, better employment opportunities, and many other reasons. But it's not simple, and it's not a romantic idea of a fourth green field. To do all of that actually will require, it'll create huge opportunities, but it requires change. So we need to start thinking about, what does it actually mean? What does it mean for our health system? What does it mean for our education system? Does the challenges we have in Letterkenny University Hospital, would they be addressed if we had an All-Ireland health system or not? And that's the type of conversation we want. What we don't want, Greg, is we don't want just a Sinn Féin meeting full of Sinn Féin people, because we've been discussing Irish unity for as long as I've been around. What this is really geared at is a wider conversation in the community, and that's why we have set it up in the way that it's set up, that there's an independent chair, that there's panellists there who represent certain sections of society or our interests in society. And I think the panel that we have established for the Donegal event on 7 o'clock on Monday is second to none.
And we'll talk about that and maybe run through it. But, obviously a lot of us, I tend not to, but a lot of us look at Irish unity or not as black and white, or green and orange for that matter. But this is a very, very different country, a country that's changing all of the while. There's many people that have very different views and some that have no views whatsoever. And when it comes to the question time, when that does happen, the people will want to know, well, what does that mean for how their current life changes? They might feel better that the Six Counties is part of the wider new 32 county republic. But at the end of the day, you still have to get up on a Monday morning, go to work, pay your mortgage, access your GP, your school, your healthcare. Do you know what I mean? You might feel a bit better if that's what you want, but people want to know, well, what difference will it make in their lives? And I'm sure the people of Northern Ireland very keen to sort of maybe have some insight to that as well, beyond really what a lot of the debate has been about heretofore.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And, as I said, we want to kind of, look, as an Irish Republican, I want Irish unity. But it's my job to convince people who maybe aren't convinced up until now that it's in their best interest, recognising that there are people out there who are unionists and aren't going to become non-unionists in the morning. It's in the name. They believe in the union, and that's a legitimate aspiration to have. But there is provision in the Good Friday Agreement. It's 25 years old this year. It allows for a referendum on Irish unity. I think everybody, including unionism, accept that there is going to be a referendum. Obviously, they will fight tooth and nail to have, the vote that they remain with the union. But we do see changes that are happening in the north, and the demographic changes that have been happening over many, many years. They're very, very clear. They're reflected in a number of elections in terms of unionism losing its majority in 5 consecutive elections. Something that was never supposed to happen 100 years ago, when the north was partitioned and it was gerrymandered and it was set up in the way it was set up, that a Protestant parliament for a Protestant people.
But the key thing is those votes aren't necessarily, or actually aren't, sort of transferring to sort of a nationalist ideology, or we don't necessarily know as well. So those are the.
I think the biggest straw in the wind is what happened in the Assembly elections. It was never ever conceived when the North was created that you would have a Republican, a nationalist as First Minister in the North, and that and that just shows you what is happening out there in terms of changing. But you don't take anything for granted, okay? So we know that there's going to be a referendum. We know we will argue for a positive vote for a new Ireland in that referendum. But the crucial thing is, and let's not repeat the mistakes of Brexit. Let's actually think it through, discuss it through. What does that actually mean? For us, we believe this is a unique opportunity. Very few nations have an opportunity to reinvent themselves. And this is an opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to actually not just join the sticks with the 26 counties, because nobody's arguing for that. What we're arguing is about a new Ireland. And that means an Ireland that is inclusive. Just what you said, it's an Ireland very different from where it was.
Like a united Ireland might not be what Republicans or unionists envisage right now. It might be a completely different type of a united Ireland.
Absolutely. It's not me that will write the script or design which way, what a new Ireland will look like. It has to be all of us. I want to have my part in it. I want to play my part in it as a Republican, as a leading member of Sinn Féin. But the key thing, and this is the reason why these meetings are happening, this belongs to all of us, and it's going to affect all of us. When this referendum happens, and if there's a positive outcome to this referendum, then it does affect health, it does affect education, it does affect your quality of life, it does affect agriculture, it affects sports, it affects tourism, it affects everything. So let's have a conversation in relation to what that means. And it also means some very difficult decisions. I can remember, and I've made this point a number of occasions, a member of the Orange Order, who we've invited the Orange Order to this event. It's really important that we hear voices of people who aren't convinced and who are opposed, and all of that needs to be inclusive. But I can remember somebody from the Orange Order phoning me up and said, Pearson, if there was a united Ireland, would we be allowed to march on the 12th of July? And my argument is, of course. Like, the point here is that Orangism is a part of our tradition, it's a part of our heritage. And, to me, our tricolour is the best symbol in terms of a new Ireland, but there's not one thread more green in that flag than there is orange. And these are the type of conversations that we have, not just how those traditions of unionism would be included in New Ireland, but how would they not just be respected, but actually cherished? Because there are 1 million people, or close to that have a very strong different view. But there are demographics, there are things that are changing, which is showing very clearly, including in the polls, that a referendum will happen, that it's likely a referendum over time will be a positive outcome, which means we're going to have a united Ireland. And that's why we want to have an inclusive discussion. And we would love to see community groups, sporting organisations having these discussions themselves. This is our contribution to it. It's not about owning the space. It's not about dominating the space. There's civic organisations like Ireland's Future. They put 5,000 people into the Three Arena, where they had a massive inclusive and conversation on Irish unity. The Taoiseach was there. The Mary Lou McDonald was there. You had, famous actors and musicians were all part of it. And that's the type of inclusive discussion we want to have.
You say, obviously, listen, Sinn Féin are a Republican party, they're organising this, so it's going to be seen a certain way. You talked about wanting to hear unionists' voice. This is the third, I believe. Have you heard them at these meetings?
Oh, look, I've been involved in different initiatives in terms of Irish unity in the past. I can remember nearly a decade ago in Derry where we had a big public meeting in the Millennium Forum there, where unionism were part of that discussion on the platform with myself and others, talking about why they don't want a united Ireland. We've had spring schools where we've had loyalists come to, and we've invited loyalists from to our spring schools, and they make these arguments. There's no point having a conversation just between ourselves. This conversation has to be inclusive. But if unionism don't turn up, that's okay as well, because for those of us who believe in Irish unity, it's about putting some meat in the bones. It's about actually looking at it in more detail, and that's why what we have done in this People's Assembly isn't set up a panel of all Sinn Féin elected representatives or speakers or all the rest. We have actually gone to the head of enterprise in the county, in the region, and asked that person to come up, the head of education, the former head of local authority, experts in different fields in health campaigning. They're the people that we want to address. I don't know what they're going to say. But
I think most of what they're going to say is they're going to say that if they say to you, we're working very closely with education in the north and it's working well. If it's the council, they're going to talk about the establishment of the city status. If it's the Letterkenny Chamber, they're going to be talking about how they work hand in hand to the mutual beneficial for both with, and you talk about someone who's creating jobs. It's about the Northwest being seen as an attractive region with no border to come in and invest in. I mean, that's what they're going to say. But then how does that all... I'm sorry, I don't mean that's that negative, by the way, but I presume that it is, because that's a lot of positive stuff there. But how does that progress the conversation, do you feel?
Well, I think if you look at the panelists there, you have the former CEO of Údarás na Gaeltachta, Micheál O'Haney, who was a former director in Donegal County Council. He'll chair the event, so it's not just about what the panelists are going to say, and they'll answer questions and they'll give their own contribution. Yeah. Okay. But it's also people that are coming from the floor that will have different views and different questions, and hopefully will, if there's lessons to be learned from the other two People's Assembly, this will actually it will encourage debate. It will, people will come with their own ideas and their own challenges, and and so on and so forth. But yeah, the experience here in Donegal has been, of course, we need to work across the border. Of course, we need to work on an all-island basis. But in doing that, and we can see that with the great work that Donegal and Derry City are doing, and Derry and Strabane and local authorities. But we've still got all those challenges in terms of the border. We've still got all of those challenges in terms of regulatory environment. So we want to hear what that would mean in relation to.
So where have they been? Ireland. Where have you held them so far? There's one in Donegal. Where have the other two been?
Belfast has been the first, and Derry has been the second. So this is the third. There's plan that this will go across right across the island.
Yeah, because that's what would interest me. I'm not saying this doesn't interest me. Don't get me wrong, but I'd be very interested to see what people in Kerry think, or what people in Cork think, or what people in Galway think, or how many might even turn up that aren't very, ardent Sinn Féin fans, supporters, for example. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone's going to have a say in this. If you go further south, are people less interested? Are they less likely to engage? As I say, this is very worthwhile. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting otherwise, but I think it's when you start heading down the extreme south of the country, west or east or central or wherever it might be, it'll be very interesting when that happens to hear what regular folk think.
I think it's a very good point. And my own view has always been this: if people recognise that the referendum is likely to happen in the next number of years, which I strongly believe it, and as I said, unionism, the former leader of the DUP came to Glenties and says unionism needs to prepare for this referendum. There's an acknowledgement that this referendum's happening. So I think when people start to realise we're going to have a referendum on Irish unity in the next number of years, I think people will take a lot more interest in it, because they'll actually look and say, well, can some of the problems that they're facing in their ordinary daily lives actually be addressed in terms of Irish unity, and how can it be? Probably in the past, all they've really thought about, a lot of people, not stereotyping everybody, a lot of people have thought about is a romantic idea of Irish unity, of the history that we learn at school, and the tensions between orange and green, and all of that, and the conflict in the north. The conversation that we're happening today, I would strongly argue that 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to have the type of event that we're having in the Ballard Theatre on Monday.
But you also might not have been using the same language that you're using now either.
And that's true as well. Although I would point to documents that we published many years ago talking about an inclusive discussion.
I know, but I mean,
very hard issues.
You're choosing your words You're choosing your words very carefully, and they do sound very inclusive. But I think that's part of maybe why we couldn't have had this. I don't want to put words in your mouth from 10 years ago. I'm just getting a sense that this conversation, maybe not with you, but with someone else, might have felt a little bit different. You know, I mean, because
I think it's a safe space for people to have this conversation now, because you're seeing, as I said, you're seeing Ireland's Future organising main big political events, big conversations in relation to Irish unity. You're seeing other political parties, the SDLP have their own initiative, Fianna have done some stuff on this here. Other members of political parties have addressed meetings that we've organised ourselves. You've got different civic societies that are doing stuff in relation to this here. And, for us, it's absolutely fantastic that the likes of Paul Hannigan, the head of ATU, or university here in the Northwest, is going to be one of the panellists. It's fantastic that Noel Duddy, who's been, instrumental in relation to cancer services, which is based on a regional basis, cross-border, have been secured, is there to speak about the health challenges. That we have the head of the Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce talking about the issues that she will want to address in terms of Tony Forrester, who's done so much in relation to, enterprise here, not just in Donegal, but also cross-border, recognising the impacts of Brexit. Seamus Neely, our former CEO of Donegal County Council, again, been as one of the panellists, and Professor Terry Scott. Like, this is the Vice-Chancellor of University of Ulster, former board member of the IDA, former president of Sligo IT. These are very serious people that are making their time available to have a discussion, to answer questions, to give their opinion on what is the future.
Yeah, and I presume all those opinions are being formed and are formed through conversations like this. But as we mentioned, and we'll wrap up shortly, Piers, and I'll remind people of when it's on and how to get involved. But this country, as we've said, it's changing all the while. This county is changing dramatically now. Its demographics are changing for a number of reasons. What is... and one of those reasons is going to be immigration and people moving it. What is Sinn Féin's current policy, if in power today, in terms of immigration and recognising people's concerns? And I'm not talking about the extremes. I want to take that out of it and just focus on people with genuine concerns, right? What is your party's policy? What would you do now that's different to what the government's doing, other than saying, well, we need to provide more housing, we need to provide more services, I'm not about stuff that might take 5 or 10 years to kick in. I'm about now. What would Sinn Féin be doing now that's any different to the government, if anything?
Well, first of all, that is the issue would be doing different from the government, because regardless of which government's in place, you have international obligations in relation to people who are seeking protection in your country. That's the same in Ireland as it is in France, it is in Spain, it is anywhere else. When people are fleeing war-torn areas and seeking international protection, you have obligations internationally in relation to them. What you have an obligation as a government is to plan for that, to prepare for that. Now, we have unprecedented levels in relation to, as a result of the war in Ukraine. But we're a year into this now, nearly. And a year ago, the government were talking about 200,000 people that we would need to accommodate. A year on, we aren't at we're about a third of those figures. And we are at crisis point.
Yep.
There is a failure to plan here.
There is,
There's
of course, but
let's
let's just say there's a snap election and we are where we are, right? So would you be doing anything in terms of moving people into areas, different areas of the country? Would you be doing anything different in terms of people arriving here without any documentation? Just into the everyday work that would have to be done right now. What would Sinn Féin be doing now different to what the current government is doing?
Well, first of all, there's an old debate in relation to how people are processed in relation to international protection. We have many people who, for example, are in centres at this point in time who have had approval in terms of their international protection and their status to remain here. Yet they're still in centres because there is no accommodation for them. And so there's major problems, there's major backlogs. There are people right across the country, businesses who are actually offering accommodation in relation to people coming in here, and they can't get the accommodation approved because the department is basically is collapsing. Now there's an unprecedented amount of work that department has gone through. I understand, for example, they've made a request for additional staff that was rejected by the cabinet.
Yeah. So say a business then, say a business in I'll pick a town. I don't want to pick say Donegal town, right? A business approaches the department and says, we can accommodate here. We can accommodate 150 refugees. And you're saying the government's dragging its feet in relation to that. Do you think if someone offers the accommodation, it should be just taken up? Do you think there should be consultation with them? No, but I'm moving the question forward, Pierce. I recognise. No,
I understand, and I'm just answering the point. That is not the point at all. It's not a case of somebody offering accommodation and therefore they're just taken up. First of all, what people expect is a response. That's the first thing. And I'm not talking about Donegal. I'm talking about different parts of the country here. But people expect a response. People expect to be able to be told yes, no, or maybe, or whatever. The issue here is it's not just about accommodation. It's about services. It's about making sure that communities are supported and equipped in relation to able to do it. So everything from schools to medical and all of that needs to be taken into account. The problem here is we don't have a strategy, a long-term strategy. Like, there is no strategy that the government have told us in relation to, well, where's the extra accommodation coming from, or how is it requiring it, or anything of that nature. So there is, and you're not just hearing it from people in the opposition. You're also hearing it. You can see it this week being reported by backbenchers in Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, and there is no information coming out here from.
So how would you be judging? How would you be judging, say, for instance, how many refugees Donegal can take? Are you saying you would do an assessment of GP services, school places, capacity in the hospital?
That's what happens. Like, that's what happens, and the local authority has a role in relation to this. So the local authority has a role in relation to informing the Department of Children and Youth Affairs in relation.
So say all local authorities say, look, we are really at capacity here. All local authorities from Dublin to Cork to Donegal.
But they're not. They're not saying that. They're not saying that. See, this is the issue. They're not saying that. And if you look at certain parts of the country, you will see that there's a far lower level in relation to those seeking international protection, those fleeing war in Ukraine, than there is in other areas. So, there has to be a proactive plan here. It can't be seat of the pants thing all the time. We recognise that this is a crisis, this is a war, this is unprecedented. But we are a year into this, and we don't have a plan in relation to where the accommodation is going to be acquired. And there is a lack of communication in relation to leaders in your community, whether they're elected representatives or not. What we get is an email sometimes not. There's an email on the day basically saying that X amount of people are coming to your community. There is no discussion whatsoever. Okay. Then we're trying to figure out, is the GPs been contacted? Has the schools been contacted? And all of that.
Well, the guards aren't even contacted in a lot of cases.
It's not good enough, right, in terms of the planning here.
Okay, well, listen, hey, in one form or another, I'm sure either directly or indirectly, this will probably form some of the conversation as well at the Bala Arts Centre Bala Buffet, Monday the 13th of February, 7 p.m. It's the Donegal People's Assembly, the Commission on the Future of Ireland. Sinn Féin are the organisers, but Pierce has made it clear that everyone is welcome. You turn up on the night or on the evening? Is that how it's done?
You can register with Eventbrite. So there's a link there on all our social medias as well in terms of registering with Eventbrite, and a large number of people have registered already with Eventbrite, but you can also attend on the night. So we're encouraging people. We've invited a lot of, we'd like to hear from community groups, representative organisations. As I said, I've invited people from the unionist community also to the event. But look, come, have your say. If you don't like the idea, tell us that. If you think there's a question in relation to, what some of the panelists should say, or maybe give your own thoughts, be part of it anyway. Because this train has left the station, and in my view, it's only going to one.
You're gonna have to choose a different metaphor, Pierce, for up here. That might be fine down in Dublin. There's no trains leaving any stations around here. But hey, that could form part of the conversation as well.
That's exactly the type of conversation. Okay. Because why don't we have rail here in Donegal? Is because of partition. The All Ireland Rail Review. The reason, the only chance of getting rail back in Donegal, I've raised this with the minister, is an All Ireland approach. Again, a lot of these things come back down to partition and Irish unity, whether it's health, education, jobs, economy, deprivation, rail. even trying to get into the European Cup finals or the World Cup finals, it all comes down to, should we have one team? Should we have two teams? All of those kind of things. These are things that interest people, and have your say.
All right, thanks very much for your time, by the way. I think I took more of your time than you probably expected. But anyway, I just wanted to ask some questions of that would be coming in as well. Right, okay. Coming up after 11, it is just time to chill out a little bit. You know what I mean? We chat 5 days a week here. A lot of positive stuff, a lot of issues, trying to fix stuff. Hey, by the way, thank you so much. I find it a bit cringy talking about the listenership figures because everyone does it, and I hate to be like everybody else. But that being said, we have to recognise something, that over the course of the last year, we've had a huge increase in people listening to the 9 till noon show. And even over the last 3 months, we've had thousands of more people tuning in. And the figures cover North Donegal. They're fantastic. 8 out of 10 people in our area here, 8 out of 10 people listen to Highland Radio in the week. Isn't that remarkable? Only 2 out of 10 don't. And we're going to have to get used to listening to us on a weekly basis. But I think that's just absolutely phenomenal. But thousands more, 1, 2 and 3,000 more per hour, depending on the hour, tuning into this show, which is great, you know, because other news services, it's gone the other way. We're not just news, but you know what I mean? It's just great to see that we're bucking a national trend, and we really appreciate it. Highland Radio now, the second most listened to local radio station in the country. It's getting neck and neck in that regard with our old friends down at Midwest. But by far and away, we have the highest market share of any station in the country. Local, national, international, it doesn't matter with them. Our market share is massive. And that's thanks to you switching on in the morning and staying with us all day or for long periods of time. That's what the market share is. So we really do appreciate it. And when I say that, I mean genuinely. Off air, we're talking about and going saying, well, haven't we the best listeners? And that doesn't include 1 million live minutes watched every month, 1 million live minutes watched every month across our social media for the show. We really appreciate that. And also our great friends out living in different parts of the world who tune in. Unfortunately, the figures don't count you as well. So all in all, we are continuing to grow. And in this day and age, it's fantastic. And it's all down to you guys. So thank you very much indeed. Right, let's take a break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
2023 is already turning out to be an electric year for Hyundai. Why? Because Hyundai is the best-selling electric car brand in January 2023. And the Ioniq 5 is now officially Ireland's best-selling electric car. Make 2023 the year you make the change to fully electric driving.
Your local dealer is Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny. Call 91 22 600.
Ireland's biggest ever tribute weekend is coming back to Donegal. Trib Bash 2023 is taking place at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny on the 10th and 11th of February. The nation's very best tribute acts take to the stage with the fantastic award-winning Johnny Cash and June Carter tribute show Cash Returns, the sellout show Mac Fleetwood as Fleetwood Mac, the smash hit ABBA tribute with Bjorn Identity, and the show-stopping Queen tribute. Limited tickets available now at the hotel reception and online at eventbrite.ie. Trib Bash 2023. The perfect Valentine's party weekend.
Are you involved in a digital project in your town or community? Would you like to share in a €100,000 prize fund? The .ie Digital Town Awards shine a light on the achievements of local towns for digital projects in health, education, tourism and community. To enter the .ie Digital Town Awards, visit weare.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
Fancy a weekend away? Join me, Sinead Black, for a weekend of social dancing, music and crack in the Connacht Hotel, Galway. From Friday the 24th to Sunday the 26th of March, myself and my band will be joined by TR Dallas, Jack Keogh, Alex Black, the Break Free Band and the Galway Dancers. To secure your place, call 086 231 9845 or visit SineadBlack.com.
I've lost my car keys.
Lost my car once in a multi-storey. Lost my patience. My hair? Lost that a while back. But this week, I found things I thought had gone forever. The crackle of needle on vinyl. Leaves crunching. I found them all at Specsavers. I got free hearing aids with PRSI. And now those sounds are back. So's my joie de vivre. Still can't find those keys, though.
Book a free hearing test today. Terms and conditions apply. See our website for details.
I'm Didam Demirjan from Oxfam. Right now, we are working with partners to respond to the devastating aftermath of the 7.8 magnitude earthquake that hit Turkey and Syria. More than 200 aftershocks followed. Thousands of lives have been lost, and the number keeps rising. Your help is urgently needed. Donate now at oxfamireland.org.
If you're thinking of changing your washing machine, consider the brilliant 8kg 1400 spin washer from Blomberg. Raymond Sweeney here at Ben Sweeney Euronics. If you often need laundry washed in a hurry, this brilliant washing machine will get your daily clothes clean and fresh in under 30 minutes, saving money on your energy bills and giving you back valuable time. It also comes with a 7-year parts and labour warranty for peace of mind. Call in to us and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Order. There's a lot to be said for it. Not the restrictive, always play by the book, straight down the line kind of order, but the order you place for a brand new 231 Audi. An order best placed having experienced true progress with a test drive at your Audi dealer, where you will also get advice on the options available to ensure owning your 231 Audi is as straightforward as possible, which is proper order. Visit your nearest Audi dealer, where future is an attitude.
Wild Atlantic Way adventures await you this spring with a midweek escape to the luxury Radisson Blu Hotel and Spa Sligo from just €120 with complimentary breakfast each morning. Indulge in afternoon tea overlooking Sligo Bay. Unwind with a treatment at the spa. Enjoy a delicious meal in the brasserie. Sit back and relax in Waves Bar or surround yourself with the best of Sligo's outdoor pursuits right on your doorstep. Book now at radsligo.com for the perfect spring midweek escape.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fly daily to London Heathrow with Aer Lingus and connect to 80 plus destinations worldwide, including Boston and New York. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, so mist and drizzle clearing. So overall, plenty of dry weather today with some occasional sunny spells. Temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees in moderate, occasionally fresh west to southwest winds. So let's go now to Ballywood, Ballyshannon. It's like Hollywood down there at the moment. Michael Daly operates Daly's Donegal Facebook page. He joins us now. Hiya, Michael.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good to have you with us. Right, more power outages in and around Ballyshannon. I'm sure you wouldn't be highlighting it, Michael, unless there was a bit of a trend and a lot of inconvenience ongoing. What's happening, do you think?
Yeah, well, Greg, I suppose most recently in the last 3 days, we've, in an area where I live but extends both sides of the River Erne heading out towards Balleek, we've had 5 outages in the last 3 days, and it's a trend that I was beginning to notice it and sort of log it in the back of my head because I live in this area, and I wondered, I said, God, that's a lot of outages, because through neighbours I asked, did anybody have records of the outages, and then information came to me, and to cut a long story short, over a period of actually just less than a year, from the 14th of the 1st, 22, which is Valentine's Day last year, to today, there's been, from my figures, 14 outages in that time. So, I remember several times being here at home and the power going out, and kind of it was almost a novelty to it at the start, because basically it was great to see all the technology being turned off in a house where teenagers tend not to talk to you, and so we actually played cards by candlelight and all that, but they soon got fed up with the cards, because it seemed constantly, which I don't know, over exaggerate the problem, but right through February last year, and then it kind of waned but picked up again. In October we had one, St. Stephen's Day, another, and then in January and February it's not been good. We've had a lot of outages, and people, I eventually, I was kind of reluctant to do it because I was personally involved in it because I live here, but eventually I put a piece up on my own page, and I was taken aback by the reaction from others.
Yeah, Michael too, because
there's them who had a lot of detail.
There's a group of us that it's an inconvenience, isn't it? Like you talk about, the router's down, you have to get the deck of cards out, what have you. But I'm sure there's a lot of people affected too, whereby, maybe young babies in the house having to boil kettles, make bottles, or people who are carers. It sort of goes beyond inconvenience into actually really having a detrimental effect on people. And those are the ones I always try and sort of go to rather than think of myself, if you know what I mean. The same as yourself.
Funny, one of the people who contributed, actually, I took a note. I kind of sort of anticipated your question, and I won't name her, but she's there on the page if you want to look at the comments. Fully reliant on electricity for heating, hot water and cold water, cooking and hybrid working. And I wondered about the cold water, but the reason for that is probably the water system's on a pump. But that was the point that person made, and that kind of echoes the point you're making, because, I'm slightly nervous about complaining about being without power because I can't sort of look at my laptop and that sort of stuff. But for a lot of people out here in this area, it really is affecting their lives. Yeah. And I understand that ESB networks have had a series of properly put together complaints from people basically outlining the extent of the issue. And to be fair, they have responded. And last week we thought we had crossed the Rubicon and that this might be sorted because they had crews in the area and everything was going well. Then power went out again. So I'm not sort of sure what exactly is the problem, but in response to some of those complaints, the ESB said, and well, I'll read what they said. They said they have not yet found the fault on the line. They have teams of men working on the lines, and they've narrowed it down to a particular area. Hope to have it resolved very soon. And then another comment from a person who got a response from the ESB said that the fault arises when there's a period of extended rain. I'm not trying to be smart, but it's not the sunny South Donegal. We do occasionally get extended rain.
The odd spell of wet weather, yeah.
Branches and trees and that.
We should, and it is interesting to say that because I think we probably have one of the most resilient networks in the country because of the weather that we get, and we have great teams that go out and repair it. So when there's a niggly problem like that, and it's more than niggly for the people you've mentioned, we hope they get on top of it and provide the people of that part of Ballyshannon the same service that the rest of the county enjoys.
Yeah. And just for the benefit of your listeners, and it's very rural Ballyshannon, as I say. It goes out the old Balleek Road. I'm not sure if people will be familiar with that. Where I live in the Nad, they're right out towards, and there's an irony here, where I'm talking to you from now in the house, as crow flies, there are 2 hydroelectric power stations about 1.5 miles from me, and perhaps another 2 miles from me there's a wind farm. So I know the two things don't tally. We don't get our power directly from the wind farm or elsewhere, but that's sort of beginning to annoy people as well.
You can hear the whoosh of the turbines.
No power, but you've got
exactly.
You've got the turbines kind of running, and that capping's falling.
All right. Yeah. Come here, before I let you go, Nather or Nather?
Nather for me. Yeah.
Now come here. What is the either side here? What would Nather or Nather? Where does Nather come from? Why Nather or Nather?
I don't know, but we always spelled the K-N-A-T-H-E-R, and now I see versions of N-A-D-E-R, but no, it'll be Nather with a K. And I suppose the one thing, Greg, just to kind of, I sound like I'm being a politician here, but in fairness to the crews, many of them I know well. Some of them I was actually at school with who've been out here during the night and all the rest of it. They are doing as much as they can to resolve the problem. It's if you got 13 of those in 12 months and 6 of them in 3 days, people get a bit crispy about that kind of stuff.
I think so, and rightly so, yeah, of course, because it is a very expensive commodity as well at the moment, let's not forget.
Well, there is that, Greg, and the other thing I suppose I'm going to say, because some of your listeners might say, in an area like this, it's not a massive number of people. I estimate it's probably affecting about, in total, 500 or 600, but, we pay our bills too, so that's why I kind of raised it on the page. And
we appreciate you sharing it then with us as well, Michael. You can check out more from on Facebook, Daly's Donegal Facebook page. Michael, thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Best wishes to everyone. Thank you very much indeed for that. That's Michael Daly, as I say, Daly's Donegal Facebook page, 08660 25,000. Right, okay. I think the amount Ireland travelled out is not the same as just how much as how came in. We are swamped and on our knees. How you feel, I'm not in any way contradicting that, but 70,000 is a big number, of course, but should it swamp a population in excess of 5 million? Greg, we need to raise the issue of disabled people getting respite. Families are struggling and we need help. We'll come to that specifically rather than not just a text, okay? So I'll try and remember to start that on Monday, right? So we can afford that the time it clearly deserves.
Hi, Pauline McLynn here, sharing something really important. When someone's having a stroke, minutes matter because 2 million brain cells die every minute. So call 112 or 999 if you see any of these FAST signs. F for face, has it fallen on one side? A for arms, can both be held up? S for speech, is it slurred? T for time, it's time to call 112 or 999 fast. Learn more at irishheart.ie.
The Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana will be holding their annual wedding fair on Thursday the 16th of February from 6 till 9 p.m. View the hotel for your dream wedding day. Meet with wedding suppliers and speak to our award-winning team on the night. For more information, call us on 074 936 1144.
There's an M&S dine-in for every occasion, from a midweek stir-fry to a Friday night pizza, comforting pasta to gastropub classics, family dinners to date-night indulgence. Whatever you fancy, this is restaurant-quality food that's worth staying home for. Available in-store now. This is not just dine-in, this is the home of dine-in from M&S.
Fancy a weekend away? Join me, Sinead Black, for a weekend of social dancing, music and crack in the Connacht Hotel, Galway. From Friday the 24th to Sunday the 26th of March, myself and my band will be joined by TR Dallas, Jack Keogh, Alex Black, the Break Free Band and the Galway Dancers. To secure your place, call 086 231 9845 or visit SineadBlack.com.
New this week in Home Store and More. All car accessories are half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price car accessories are gone, they're gone. Also, all frying pans and all pots and planters are still half price. But when all the half price frying pans and all the half price pots and planters are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
At F&F, there's 25% off ladies and men's nightwear until this Tuesday the 14th with your Tesco Club card. That's 25% off PJs, loungewear and nightwear. Just in time to add a little ooh la la to Valentine's evening. Now that's worth popping in for. F&F, fashion at Tesco. Products subject to availability. Available in the majority of larger stores.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, Michael and Fionnuala will be in studios with us really, really soon. But in the meantime, let's get a news update at 11 o'clock and we say good morning to Jane McClafferty.
Thanks, Greg. Cleaner Richardson will take up the role of Assistant Garda Commissioner tomorrow. With 30 years' service, she will be responsible for the Northwestern region. Garda Commissioner Drew Harris has welcomed her promotion, saying it will be of great benefit to the force. The prospect of a link between Letterkenny and Derry will be included in the All-Island Strategic Rail Review, according to the journal.ie. However, the review notes a new line would need to be built as the tracks between the two have been taken up. The publication of the review may be some time away yet, as ministerial approval will be needed from both jurisdictions, and that will not be possible until an executive is formed at Stormont. The Irish aid agency GOAL says it's going through heartbreak after 26 members of its staff died following the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. It says some staff members are still unaccounted for. More than 21,000 people are confirmed to have died in the disaster. The iconic Northwest 200 and all other motorcycle road races in Northern Ireland have been cancelled this year. The Belfast Telegraph today reports the soaring cost of public liability insurance led to the decision last night by the Motorcycle Union of Ireland. A Donegal TD says more people should be questioning the decisions and the role of the Attorney-General. Deputy Pringle was speaking in the Dáil during statements on the nursing home controversies after a report from the Attorney-General defended the state's legal strategy to fight claims from medical card holders wrongly charged for private nursing home care. 2 Donegal attractions have been honoured by CIE Tours at the company's first award ceremony since the COVID-19 pandemic. The CIE Tours Annual Awards of Excellence honours the facilities and attractions which most impress the 25,000 US visitors the company brings to Ireland each year. And now for the weather. Quite cloudy today and perhaps misty at times with possible outbreaks of light rain and drizzle. Overall, plenty of dry weather with some occasional sunny spells. Highest temperatures 10 to 12. That's all for now, and we'll be back with more headlines at 12 o'clock.
Thank you very much indeed, Jade, and we'll be back with more after this really short break.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in the community. Keeping up to date with your recommended vaccines will make sure you have the best possible protection from serious illness. And everyone aged 18 to 49 can now get a second COVID-19 booster vaccine from a HSC vaccination centre or a participating GP or pharmacy. See what vaccines are recommended for you on hsc.ie or call our team in HSC Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSC.
You may think you know driving, but you don't know Nissan e-Power. An electric motor that brings you the performance and response on the road that you demand, charged by a petrol engine as you drive. The thrill and economy of electric driving without ever having to plug in. And it's exclusive to Nissan. Who said you have to plug in to drive electric? Find the drive you've been looking for with e-Power, now available in the new Nissan Qashqai, a unique electrifying experience now unplugged. Nissan, innovation that excites.
At last, a technology that's impossible to ignore. Here we have a device that grabs people's attention. Introducing a technology that's truly impossible to miss. Imagine a technology where it's impossible to scroll past your ads. Welcome to radio, advertising that's unscrollable. Visit radiocenterireland.ie to see what radio can do for your product or brand.
Weanling trade is on fire. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
As weanling prices keep climbing, we look at what's driving demand. Sheep farmers await Competition Authority investigation on Kildare chilling sale. As lambing season kicks off, our special focus advises on how to keep a lid on costs. New TAM scheme. Find out what new equipment and grant rates you can apply for. Factories pushing beef farmers to cut emissions by 30%. And we examine how farm partnerships can break down.
Only inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal.
Every year in the GAA, something unique happens. First-class rivals suddenly become first-class teammates. Fierce inter-county foes turn into friends, and yesterday's opponents now have each other's backs. Grudges set aside, all of the best club and county players from every corner of this country line out in their college or university jerseys to play together, challenge together, and win together. It can only be the Electric Ireland Sigerson, Fitzgibbon and Higher Education Championships.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in the community. Keeping up to date with your recommended vaccines will make sure you have the best possible protection from serious illness. And everyone aged 18 to 49 can now get a second COVID-19 booster vaccine from a HSC vaccination centre or a participating GP or pharmacy. See what vaccines are recommended for you on hsc.ie or call our team in HSC Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSC.
Okay, 5 minutes past 11 on this Friday, the 10th of February, and it's time to welcome back into studio our dynamic duo of Michael Leddy, writer and blogger. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
And Fanuda Rabbit. I need to come up with some words for you as well. I don't know.
Awesome. There we go.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what I
just
do.
do it
Never
yourself.
wrong. That's another one I like to say Accurate, about myself. honest. These are, these are good
Exactly. All
descriptions.
Good words. Right, we want you involved in the conversation out in Radio Land, or if you're watching us as well, you can text or WhatsApp 086 60 tell us 1000 086 60 20 1000. Tell us what you're watching or what you've been doing for fun. What? 086 60 21 20
25,000.
086 60 25,000. Do you know, I read that number out a million times a year.
It's a Friday.
Yep.
It's definitely.
07491 25,000. I skipped breakfast. That's if you want to call us, by the way. It's amazing, really, how it can affect your mind. Okay. Michael,
Yes.
have I got all of your list here?
Yes.
Okay, it's very small.
Yeah, but we don't ever get to anything anyway. We only pick one or two things, so
Wow.
You know,
That's
in
kind
fairness,
of like an executive decision.
In
that you've-
fairness,
you've
well,
taken
it
there.
seemed like
He's phoning it in.
It seemed like it was just as well to just keep to.
Right, okay. Should we start with something on regular telly? Vera. What do you think, Fanula? That's on your list, isn't it? Sorry. Yes, Fanula?
No, it was on my list, but it is on my list. I forgot all about it. Vera
That's
is
the
back.
Friday, we'll cover
I know.
that as well,
In
'cause it's
fairness,
Friday.
no, because it's not one of the new ones that's on my list. I apologize because actually it started last week.
Okay, that's good.
But it's the new series of it, and it's season 12, and it's supposed to be the final series, even though they haven't officially said it. But in fairness to poor Brenda Blaheen, getting in and out of that Jeep can be a bit. It's a lot. It's a lot. But it just, I had it down on it because it started back. It's season 12. It's been a while and we've kind of lost an awful lot of the sort of long form detective stuff that's been going on. You know, there used to be Morse, there used to be Lewis. They all sort of finished Endeavour, which was
Silent Witness.
The Silent Witness. It now only runs for a very short run, and it runs over the 2 days. Whereas these are the ones that UTV do, and they're actually like a double up. So they run for the 2 hours and 20 minutes or whatever it is for the thing for the whole thing to go through, and that's exactly what Vera does. I love all these kind of detective-y drama things. McDonald and Dodds is back on now as well.
So they're not going out of vogue.
It's just, well, a lot of them just came to an end.
Okay.
It was a thing. What
Because
they were
Happy
kind of-
Valley, would you count that? That finished up during the week, though, last week, didn't it?
No, Happy Valley, see, would be a different thing. It was always an hour long and it was always weekly.
Oh, I
That's
see
the
what
way that
you're
it is.
saying, right,
But what
okay,
I'm
I
saying is
understand.
these are kind of like the way they did them was nearly the way they did the old Agatha Christie's.
Get
the
you.
way they did the Poirots. You never watched Poirot over 6 weeks, even back in the day when you watched everything week on week. If you look at, you know, Ken, if you have a day off and you're lying on your couch with your duvet, you will see on like the likes of Alibi or on the likes of the ITV 3 and 4, they've loads of this Agatha Christie and Poirot that are done back in the 80s, and they're 2.5 hour length stories. It was very unusual at the time for them to be that long instead of being week by week. Would you agree with
Yeah,
that?
absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I know the type of thing.
Yeah.
The type of shows you're on about. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just in this kind of detective genre, and they've done these in the exact same way. You literally sit there for like a movie. Yeah. So every week is like a movie, but there's 10, 12 episodes in this in every one of the series. And so Vera is done like that. It's absolutely fabulous. You can watch any of them back there. I've watched the whole series back, I'd say, about twice over the course of the 12 years that they've run it. But basically what it is, it's just this small, anybody who knows Brenda Blaheen, the Irish actress, she's kind of like a, short in stature, no more than myself, slightly rotund. And she would be of a mature years. And she is this kind of hard-nosed, just detective. She just goes out there and does the job. Yeah, she's not a heavy drinker. She's not a heavy this. She doesn't have any major...
Is she miserable? Is there a misery in her backstory?
She's been given 24 hours to crack the case?
No, it runs over the length of time that it runs, but the cases are actually always really interesting. They're both about stuff in the UK, and it's beautiful where it's set. I'm never 100% sure where it's set, but I think it's kind of like Yorkshire, up around that area. It's
picturesque murders.
It's absolutely stunning, and they're just really good to watch. That, as I said, season 12 is back on, but on ITV 3 and 4 and that kind of thing, you can watch the old ones. McDonald and Dobbs is the same kind of thing, but it's like a modern day version.
It's just a safe pair of hands, isn't it? It's just a safe bit of programming.
Yes. It really is. You'll sit down and you watch it and you just really enjoy it. There's a lot of red herrings. I love
McDonald and Dodds in particular. I think it's a fantastic show.
It's very smart. There's kind of a lot of smart writing in it. With the Vera, though, I have to say, you rarely start off the way you start off with who did it to who done it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It kind of flips and changes.
Designed
And
to throw you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cast, there's a big lot of cast and stuff like that involved in it. So it's just a really good watch. That's why I like it.
Excellent. So that's Vera on ITV. In the theatre, Darkness Echoing.
Yes, I went over to see this in the Ballard during the week. This is I know, it's shocking.
It's too cold for you now.
It was a drama group excursion. There was members of our
that's
drama.
even more painful.
We went.
Have you met anyone more dramatic than this lady?
Never, ever. Even before I started my review, she was being dramatic. So, this is the Butt Drama Circle's new play for this season. They're about to go on the festival circuit. So they did a couple of nights, Wednesday and Thursday night, to get up and running. Sean Byrne is the man behind this. He, same as last year with Dave Cotter, he wrote it, he directed it, and he stars in it as well. He's a triple threat. If he gets out the banjo and does a song, he'll be a quadruple threat. I loved it. It's a great piece of theatre. I think it's better than last year's, and last year's was an award-winning, acclaimed production that went round the festival circuit and did very well. This one, it'll be in Enniskillen, it'll be in Strabane. The dates are up there, you can check them out. Basically, gentleman...
Original piece, is it?
Yeah, okay. Sean wrote it. He wrote it. It was written a few years ago. It's set in 2015, so I think it was written around then as well. Chatting to him afterwards, just for a few minutes. Very straightforward, high-concept story. A man returns from London to find, much to his surprise, that his elderly father is much more seriously ill than he had realised, and he even has a home help coming in, and he lives in a cottage in the country. Our hero didn't realise any of that, and he has his own baggage to deal with. I won't go into it, but basically it's then the three characters, and it follows their set number of weeks as he learns that his father is, as I say, very seriously ill, and how that impacts on both of them. And the home help, the lady who's the home help, there was so many things I really enjoy about this script. I love Sean's grasp of language, he's great ear for dialogue, etc. But I love the fact that all three of the characters have their stories and they all get a chance to tell their story, and we get invested in all of them. I loved the couple hours I spent in that kitchen the other night. I really enjoyed it. I saw Dave Cotter twice. I hope to see this on the festival circuit again as well. I can only imagine. Well, I mean, it was brilliant. I thought it was sharp for a first night, but it'll get better and better, I'm sure. And I think they'll do very well on this festival circuit because, again, they have form. Sean did very well last year with Dave Cotter. So, huge thumbs up from me. As I said, I was in there for 2 nights, and it's on the festival circuit, and it'll be in Strabane, which is probably our closest, and then it's in Enniskillen and a few other festivals. They usually hit about 6-7 festivals, so they'll be in the Northwest coming now through February and March. And fingers crossed, I wish Butt all the very best.
Pardon my ignorance, do we host significant festivals?
We do. We have the one acts. We host them in Letterkenny. That's what has been happening
here.
Is
it only one acts now?
Only one acts.
It's a Ballyshannon as well, though.
Ballyshannon, yeah.
To you, that's like South Mexico. You're a townie, but actually,
they've got
believe it or not, it is part of Donegal.
They've got their accents and all that kind of stuff, yeah, and their big brimmed hats. But you're talking about hosting the festival, right? That's what you mean.
Any festival, like do other than one act,
well, we don't host 3-act festivals in Letterkenny.
Pardon.
No, you're okay. Ask away.
3 acts.
Three actors.
2-hour play.
It means it's a 2-hour play.
So what's 1 act then?
A 1-act play is a half-hour play. Roughly. I'm bending the rules. It could be 45 minutes. I think the rule is something like 50. But so short play. So when the 1-act festival is in Letterkenny, which I rarely miss, I love it. You go along and you see maybe 3. You see 3 completely different plays on the night, on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. So you get 9 plays of a weekend from all over the country. We do the.
And if that's your thing, this is
it's
just
brilliant.
funny to a B. Okay,
big time.
So you're highly recommending.
I am. I really am. I mean, obviously, I know I know JC, but I know these people. But I'm being honest. I mean, I really did enjoy it. I think it was better, maybe even better than Dave Cotter. It'd be interesting to chat to people. The gang from our drama group went over. We were sitting outside afterwards. We were like, wow, like that's so good on the first night. What's it going to be like on the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th night? It's a really sharp production and it deserves to do well.
Lorna says, hi Greg and Friday gang. Haven't watched Vera for a while as repeats. I love her. Must watch again. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. No, as you said, it's one of those solid things. It's just when it's on, you can sit down.
Scratch,
exactly. The Ballyshannon Festival, just when you asked I checked it out there. It's on the end of March.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. It's only down the road.
Fantastic must-see productions listed below. So you can actually go online and see what they're going to have on. It's on from the 11th to the 19th of March.
Right, so Happy Valley did wrap up. It's not a show I've watched. If you are a big fan, tell us how. Are you happy with the ending?
I shot myself in the foot with it. I decided I'd go back and rewatch it because it's so long. Yeah. There's a huge gap. And it's on Netflix. You can watch the earlier ones.
Because there's 3 series, but they took many years off between them, didn't they?
Yes,
yeah.
There is, yeah. So I said, oh no, I won't watch this. And now everybody I know that's watching it
spoiled it.
No, they absolutely are dying to spoil it because
Oh.
apparently it was amazing.
Wow. The acting in Happy Valley was the best I've watched in a long time.
Yeah.
Very good, but too long.
Oh.
So is that goes out weekly, doesn't it?
It does, and it
Happy Valley?
finished, and it was only 6 episodes.
Right, okay. Well,
That's
maybe they have
amazing.
an extra long
That's the
end.
first even partially negative thing I've heard about it.
Yeah.
People on Twitter, again, I follow various. Dave, there's a guy I follow who writes for the Radio Times, etc. Raved about it. Raved about it. They were really singing its praises and saying what a fantastic.
2 of my family members called me to discuss episode 4.
Yeah.
And you
It
didn't
was so
time.
good.
You
And
didn't
I was
time.
like,
You didn't
You hung
time
up?
this very well at all, did
Huh?
you? You didn't time this very well at all with rewatching and.
I know. I kind of forgot it was coming. You know the way he's in, and then.
But it shouldn't take you long to. You're the queen of like you'd watch those. You'd get up at 5 a.m, watch the first season, and be in for work.
But you see, there comes. I know what I find, and I'm sure it's the same with Fionnuala and everyone else. There's periods in your life where you're astonished how much you can fit in.
Yeah, like the 1970s
and then there's
was
other
big
periods
for
of
me.
your life, and you wonder, you can't even get time to switch the TV on.
I know, yeah.
This is where periods.
Just little things happen.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I'll go to you again because you actually bothered to write a list out for Beauty and the Beast 30th anniversary. That's a big deal for a lot of people, isn't it?
Well, it is for me. On numerous levels.
A lot of person.
A lot of person.
Right.
I love Beauty and the Beast. It's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Is
The
it?
original one. Do not push me. I have power in this organisation. I will sack you.
Also, pick a different fight. She might not just sack you.
Oh, it could be worse.
You might end up in a sack.
Oh,
Could be worse.
I would definitely. Beauty and the Beast is an awesome. The original one. Now I'm talking the original cartoon version that Disney put out. I actually thought it was way older
Me
than 30
too,
years.
yeah.
I couldn't believe it was only-
30s, I would have said. 40s, something like that.
I would have thought it was.
I would have.
Oh yeah, no. Oh no, it definitely wasn't that far back because they.
No,
didn't,
I would have guessed it.
Yeah,
I
but they
don't
didn't
know.
have the
Yeah,
ability
yeah.
to do it. That was it. Is in the Walt Disney himself came up with was involved in the original kind of idea of what they were going to
System
do
of
with
how
it
to do it, right.
and how they would do it, but they didn't have the technological advances and the animators.
So is this one
weren't
of the
enabled.
first done then in that animated style in the long format?
I think it might. Well, no, he did. No, because he did. Cinderella is a very old one.
Very
that
old,
would have
yeah.
been back in the day. Beauty and the Beast is just one that kind of hung around, and then all of a sudden, then it kind of in the 80s, it got looked at by Disney, and then they put it out, and
Can I just say one thing before you go any further? The 80s was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
What?
Is it not more?
It's 40 years ago now.
40 years ago, yeah.
That's scary. Like,
I know.
I remember when I was younger, I'm still a bit of a nipper, but
You totally
a long
are.
time ago, like say in the early 90s, like a long time ago would have seemed the 50s. It would have
Yes.
seemed like a different era. It would have seemed like,
It would.
I know.
Completely.
Do you know where I'm trying to get at? And
Yeah.
now here we are, and this is the reality of life in 2023, talking about the 80s, and for people, of 20 age,
One
they think
third
we're
of
talking
the
about.
people in this building were not alive then.
Did you work that out?
All the time.
But isn't it? It's just
put it as a
amazing
marker.
how you become your parents, or
Yeah, you do. You merge into the. Yeah, you don't
just become them
yeah.
because then
Oh, that-
that reality hits you. That
But sure, that's the thing. Us at this age now are the same age that our parents were in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know what
That's
I
it,
mean?
that's you're
when
explaining
we
better than
thought,
I am.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
we thought, and when we were all young teenagers going, oh my God.
Like I
and
watched a
rolling your
really
eyes
old,
at them.
I was watching a really old episode or something, or what I thought to be really old, and they were on laptops with flat screen monitors
Yeah.
and regular sized mobile phones. And in my head, I thought this was
an old thing.
This was, but
I know.
I've lived with a lot of that technology. It's crazy just how it creeps up on.
It creeps
you.
up. One of the things
Or
I always think of
slaps you in the face,
is
doesn't creep up at all.
in the late 70s, early 80s, I would have been watching Happy Days, Fonzie and all those guys, and it was set in the 50s, and that seemed like so long ago,
Yeah,
to like
that's it,
long time ago.
yeah.
But then in the 90s, we had that 70s show, which was set obviously 20 years earlier, and it didn't seem so bad. But now we have that 90s show brand new on Netflix, which I love. It was on the list for a couple of weeks. And I
wanna
can
talk
see
about it now.
We can talk about
I
it.
didn't like
Considering
But the
it
thing is,
dropped off the
I
list.
didn't like
is,
it.
it's set in the 90s, and I'm low. It's exactly like you just said. It's like, what? That's not long ago.
I think
that's not 20 years ago.
I think I was the exact same in the 90s as I am now. I genuinely believe that to be
I
the case.
do, yeah.
But clearly not.
Yeah. Well,
I feel if we asked people around you, they would think probably differently.
Oh, I know for a fact. But it's me has to live alone in this head of mine.
I know.
Well, I have like my relationship with time is such that in 1994, I, to VHS tape, recorded the last episode of the Planet of the Apes TV show. And I thought to myself, well, it's the last episode. I'll keep that for a while before I watch it. And one of these days, I'm going to watch that episode.
You're daft. You have problems. Mental health problems.
Yeah, it is.
But it hasn't been that long. It's only
back on to more
7 years.
30
back
years
on to
ago.
Beauty and the Beast, 30th anniversary of Beauty and the Beast. Look, it's absolutely fabulous. I love it. It's, to be honest, for me, not growing up, I was a teenager then, and on for it was one of my favourite movies. It was the movie all through the 90s when you wanted to have a day lying on the couch and you weren't feeling well. There you go. I think I got the DVD shipped in from Japan because you couldn't buy them anywhere else.
That was as close as you could get to illegally streaming it.
Yeah, exactly. I had to get it shipped in.
That's impressive. That's pretty cutting edge.
I absolutely loved it. But because you couldn't get it anywhere else, Disney didn't sell their catalogue only at certain times. They would only release them for like a year and then stop. So they used to be always very hard to get stuff. This, even better with this is that this is the 30th anniversary. So what they're doing is they're going through the kind of the main points of it in the movie and the main songs and that kind of thing. They're also talking a little bit about how it was made, but it's all done in still a lovely way that you can kind of really enjoy it. And Josh Groban does the Beast, and in fairness, he's awesome. His voice is so amazing. So he's singing the songs from the Beast. There's lots of other different people in it. Her, which I think is it H.E.R. Is that just pronounced her?
Haven't a clue.
Well, she is some hip hop lady.
Right. I presume it's just called her. Yeah.
Yeah. So she does the voice of Beauty in it. Amazing voice as well. Shania Twain is in it. She's taken over from Angela Lansbury. So it's just one of those little things you can have it on when you're kind of doing your few bits and pieces. Get all nostalgic about Beauty and the Beast.
All right. Okay. And lots of people will. Okay, and you know, it'll introduce it to a new audience, as always happens with stuff that stands the test of time.
That's the truth.
Yeah, it's much better than because they keep doing these things down live. You know, instead of the animation, now they're doing it with I don't know how they're with the real people. Go back to the animation.
So to be clear, Beauty and the Beast 30th anniversary. Have they made it again? It's a remake.
No. But what it is it's like a mix of the original footage, new footage, and then they have like live dancers, live singers, and all that kind of stuff in it
Fascinating
together.
To see how that's structured.
So it's kind of like how they did, but it's actually just really. You get the whole feel of the story because it flows through the story, but it shows you like clips from the original guys doing the music, the original people that did the animation, that kind of thing as well.
Caller says, watch Jared Butler's new movie Plane. Now, this keeps popping up on my For You page, let me call it that. Their review of it is as follows: a good popcorn movie where he plays a Scottish airline captain trying to save his passengers after being taken hostage in Asia. Best line in the movie is when his co-pilot asks him if he is English. Okay, so it's probably like asking a person from Canada if they're American.
Yeah.
It might be a good weekend film.
Have you seen? I'd quite like to see it. Yeah.
It just keeps popping up.
Seems like a good actiony kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
He did all those London's Burning or London's Down or
Has Fallen. Yeah, that has fallen. Yeah. And Mike Coulter
Never
is
really
in.
sure what
in
the
this
relationship between those films is. You know, London's White House down, London's.
I think it's just him. He's the relationship. He's the same.
He's the character. Yeah.
It is the same character.
I love this from a guy who's watched every season of 24, and you think Jared Butler. You think Jared Butler's just unlucky. I mean,
That's
seriously.
Quite true. That is quite true. What a bad day. Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
The other guy, you find 24 utterly believable, but Jared Butler.
I'd love to start it again.
24 is believable.
It's literally a documentary.
It is, I agree.
We'll be back with more shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
With 231 well underway, are you calling in for a look? Sure, call in for a cup of tea or a coffee and let our sales executives show you the options available in our new Nissan range. With an unbeatable range of vehicles, there's only one garage to visit for your next purchase, and that's iMotors. Visit us in Letterkenny or Malin, or visit imotors.ie.
Weanling trade is on fire. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
As weanling prices keep climbing, we look at what's driving demand. Sheep farmers await Competition Authority investigation on Kildare chilling sale. As lambing season kicks off, our special focus advises on how to keep a lid on costs. New TAMS scheme. Find out what new equipment and grant rates you can apply for. Factories pushing beef farmers to cut emissions by 30%. And we examine how farm partnerships can break down.
Only inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank, move better. Apply in-app today. Applications for Explore Current Account in-app for over 18 personal customers. Qualifying criteria, fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded bonkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who are unable to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Clonid, in a lifetime, the Farewell Dublin Show. Live at 3 Arena, Saturday, February 18th. Tickets from €49 are on sale now. Maybe subject to fees. Presented by Singular Artists.
From the morning routines to cosy family moments, Grant has been bringing comfort to homes for over 45 years. With our biofuel-compatible condensing boilers, heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home now and into the future. Think heating, think Grant. Visit grant.eu.
All right, we're in the company of Michael and Fionnuala for That's Entertainment on a Friday. A caller says, my satellite dish decided to fly away in high winds. Which they do tend to do because they get a bit rusty, don't they? But anyway, there's a happy ending to this story.
Oh, okay.
So I've been watching YouTube and found a great wee series of movies from 1939 called Jackie Chan. Or Charlie Chan, I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I didn't realise they were that advanced back then. Great quality video. So I suppose back then, this is almost about us losing a wee bit track of time. 1939, Hollywood and cinema was quite, it was getting more and more advanced at that
There are a number of detective series like Boston Blackie, Mr. Moto, The Thin Man, The Falcon, The Saint. Sherlock Holmes movies, they're all from the 30s, the 40s. Some of them had like 14 movies in the series.
Search
like Boston
them on
Blackie.
YouTube until
They're
you
on
get your
YouTube.
satellite dish
The Whistler, they're on YouTube. They're really good. They're really, really good. Mr. Moto, if you like Charlie Chan, you'll like Mr. Moto.
All right, okay. I want to say a quick hello now to Madeleine McDade, who's a director and actor with Determined Drama Club. And back on stage after quite a break, Madeleine. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you? And thank you very much for having me on.
No, it's great to have you on. Right, so tell us what's coming up in Kilmacrennan.
So on Saturday the 18th and Sunday the 19th and Saturday the 25th and Sunday the 26th of February, the Determined Drama Group are back on stage with a production of I'm the One from You from Jim Creary. So it's very funny, and anybody who needs a good laugh, come along and support us. We would appreciate it very much. Our night on Saturday the 25th of February is in aid of the Irish Air Ambulance, Dr. Jerry Lane's emergency vehicle, in appreciation of the work they've done in the recent Chrysler tragedy.
Talk to us, and it couldn't go to a more worthy cause. Talk to us about the plot of this show, I'm the One for You. Please, Madeleine.
It's set in a country farmhouse, and the owner of the house is Mr. Jerry O'Malley, played by Henry Gallagher. Mm-hmm. And Jerry has a very facetious housekeeper called Dory Sinnott, who is after Jerry, but a newcomer comes into town, who is myself, Ruth Hickey, and I'm a very posh divorcee who also takes a shine for Jerry O'Malley. And there's another farmer, Jack O'Dowd, who has a shine for Dory. And then we have a very upcoming daughter, very influential businesswoman of Jerry O'Malley and her husband. And it's all mixture, and it's very funny and very good. And then you throw in the nosy next door neighbour who happens to be Dory Sinnott's best friend, Mona, and she's played by Deirdre Gallagher. So she needs no introduction to stage. She's well equipped to be there.
Brilliant stuff, and it sounds like there's a great bit of situation comedy and what have you in there. It sounds like it's well set up for that. If people want to get tickets, Madeleine, how do they do so?
Well, the tickets are on sale in the Millbridge shop, Kilmacrennan, and I'd like to thank the staff there for selling the tickets for us. They're also on sale in Gracie Stores. That's the shop beside the Lagoon in Termon. I work there myself, so I just want to thank my boss and my workmates for selling the tickets for me.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody can contact me. If anybody knows me on Facebook, they can send me a message on Facebook, or the Termon Drama Group have their own Facebook page. So if anyone would like to message them, they can contact us there and I'll sort them out with tickets, no problem at all. The only thing is Saturday the 25th is now sold out.
Well done, that's
good.
good.
The night that we're doing for the charity is now sold out. But I am going to be running a hamper in association with that night. I'm going to have it up in the shop in Termon. If anybody wants to buy a line, all the donations, everything in the hamper has been donated by local businesses who I thank as well. And we're going to put all that money towards the night on Saturday the 25th as well.
And just remind us of the nights that tickets are still available.
They're available for Saturday the 18th and Sunday the 19th, and they're available for Sunday the 26th.
All right, well done, Madeleine. I'm sure you're all very excited to get back on the stage too after the enforced break. So I'm sure you're all buzzing with that as well. Well done and best of luck with you to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
It's our pleasure. Madeleine McDay, director and actor there, Termon Drama Club. They're all very excited, of course, to be back on stage. I think it's the first one since the COVID, so that's good to see. When is that Beauty and the Beast thing on? My 18-year-old is obsessed with it, and it sounds just up her street. Thank you.
Oh, it's on Disney, so you can go on to Disney.
Whenever you want to
like
watch
we
it.
said, whenever you want to watch it. You can get the free trial or sign up, log on to Disney
Someone
for a
else's
while.
account.
Yeah, in fairness, I actually, that's, if anybody knows somebody called Daniela, please let me know, because apparently I've given them my Disney passwords and I don't know who they are. For real? For real. I've no idea. It just suddenly popped up and I'm like, who are they?
They created an actual user profile.
Yes, they did.
Can you not go in and see what they're watching and try and profile them and see if you
I do. It's a mix of things. It's a mix. It's the same kind of stuff that I'd be watching. So I'm like,
Are you sure you're not sleepwalking?
Yeah, is it
and
you? I'm
You know yourself as
sleepwatching Disney.
Daniela at night and you dress in
It's 2
18th
days.
century.
That's the best explanation I've had
It's
for
the
it,
most plausible.
because I have no idea who these people are.
Happy New Year to you all. Oh, that's from Madeleine. Thank you. Sorry, that's the piece of information that was with Madeleine. Slow Horses on Apple. Another one whereby, and as I say, I'd be a big advocate if, especially in this day and age, do 2 months with one of these crews. Do 2 months. You know what I mean? Because there's not enough stuff on any of them individually. I personally don't think, right? Go from Apple. Let's not be brand loyal to these people. Go for Apple, do a bit of Amazon, do a bit of Disney. Do you know what I mean? Switch it around, allocate yourself your $9.99 a month and by the time you get back to the beginning, you've got a whole new plethora of stuff to watch.
If you like a good drama, the Apple seems to be really concentrating on on serious drama. They have a lot of detective-y kind of mystery things, but just some really good drama.
Great stuff, I think.
Right, one of them, Slow Horses.
But you're right, because one of the lads I share the house with, he's switched now from Netflix to Amazon.
Yeah,
and he
exhausted.
He's loving it.
And then try Disney and then try Apple.
Yeah, but he just loves all that. And there's some things that that he missed from Netflix that are on him, and he's delighted. He's really happy.
The only one with an identity up until now, and I'm open to correction because I haven't watched them all, Disney does have kind of an identity, doesn't it? I think it has a target. I don't think it's as general as streaming service as some of the others.
Yeah, I think.
Do you think?
Well, because it's actually technically
well known.
it's three different television stations in the US.
I still don't think they're very good at pushing what I might like to watch. Do you know what I mean?
They
I think
don't
there's a lot
really
of good
have
stuff
that.
on there,
Yeah,
but
they're not great at Although, in fairness, I don't really think that Netflix is as good as it was in the beginning.
No.
Whether
No,
there's
it's
so
not.
much
No.
content, but
No.
in the beginning, Netflix used to pop stuff up all the time, and you would like, and odds are you'd like it. It was upsetting to think how much they knew me, but
Or
Disney is
Daniela.
not great with that. You do have to kind of search Disney a small bit for stuff. They're not great at kind of promoting the stuff that they have.
It
on.
always seems to be behind a click.
It is because because of the fact that there's like I think it's at least 4 different, because they have their Disney stuff, then they have their Marvel stuff,
Star,
then they have Star, which is most of their dramas. You can find Grey's Anatomy and a lot of those kind of shows
or stuff that goes out on ordinary TV in America, like Big Sky and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do. They have all that kind of stuff on it. They have all the NCISs, all that, you know.
Never come across them. I'm going to have to dig in a bit deeper.
That's the thing about it is stuff only kind of comes up if you've watched previous, you know what I mean? Stuff will pop up in it, but it is absolutely massive. The more you dig into Disney,
There's a lot of stuff there. There is a lot of stuff
because
there.
it's got so many different things in it. It's definitely worth people
Disney
going on.
own the ABC network, so that's where you have Grey's Anatomy and all those shows. So they have that
Chicago PD and all.
They
those,
have
you know,
that.
those kind of like
They have that. What's the word I'm looking for? Catalog. They have the back catalog of all those shows.
Okay, let's switch to Apple then.
Apple, yes.
Slow horses.
Slow-
And make sure if you've got an iPhone and a contract that you're not getting Apple for free and you don't realise it. But
you know,
go ahead.
because they bundle a lot of these things in.
Yeah.
This is an action thriller espionage series with Gary Oldman, who has announced recently that he's on the verge of retirement. He wants to do a lot of other things
We're
besides
all on
act.
the verge of retirement.
He has specific plans.
The only thing we're on the verge of.
So he feels that this is his swan song, and he's quite happy to do a few series of this and wrap it all up. This is based on a series of novels by a guy called Mick Hutton, I think. Mick Herron. Mick Herron is his name. He's written 8 novels on this series and 5 novellas. And the TV show has been, and this is what brought me to this TV show, Graham Yost is the guy behind the show. He's the guy behind Justified. He's the guy behind Boomtown, one of the great cop shows of the last 20 years. So once I saw that Graham Yost was doing a show, I was all over this. And I'm giving this every episode. I finished season 1 last night. Every episode is 10 out of 10 for me. It's one of the 2 best things I'm watching this year, along with The Bear.
So who likes it? What other shows do I like to watch this?
24 is a good one to compare it
Okay.
to. So basically, I'll tell you the story without any major spoilers. It's set in a place called.
See, I need a little side hustle.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
just bring you in.
I need a side hustle to watch. Do you know when I have time to?
Oh, you need some. Well, 6 episodes. Only 6 episodes in the season. Slough House is where MI5 agents get sent when they've made a mistake. So one of them, for instance, sent a joke about his boss on the inter-office email, and because of that joke, his career is over, basically, and he's shunted off to this place called Slough House. And they make these agents, these guys have not done something bad enough to be fired, but they're never going to advance inside MI5. So they make them do mundane tasks. Like they come in and they say, okay, you have to go through all the parking tickets in Birmingham for 2002 and spot any trends. And they have to spend like days doing this kind of stuff. So Gary Oldman is the guy in charge of Slough House. He hates everybody in it. If you think of Gregory House and the way he was always insulting his people, this guy is like to the max. It's like Gregory House to the max 10. It's a really funny series as well. It's really funny. So basically, one of the agents, a guy called Carmichael, we're invested in him. We can see from the first episode that he actually didn't make the mistake that he was accused of. Someone else blamed him and he got shunted off to Slough House. He's been given a very...
You keep saying Slough?
Slough, S-L-O-U-G-H, they call it Slough House, yeah.
Slow written here, okay, go ahead.
So basically what happens is, well, slow horses is what they call the guys who work there.
Yeah.
They're slow horses. They're not good enough to do any mean work, whatever. His job in the show starts is he has to go through the trash of a right-wing journalist. That's how he starts the show. And he's not expected to find anything. It's just to let the journalist know that there's someone going through his trash or whatever. And at the same time, a young boy, teenager of Pakistani background, is kidnapped by a right-wing extremist group. And in 24 hours, they're going to assassinate him. So the whole season is 24 hours. They basically have to get him before they kill him live on camera. And our guy has found something in the trash, but no one's going to listen to him because he's in Slough House. So basically, everybody scrambles through the night. It runs through that evening, through the night. Everything goes, one of the team is killed, the guys have to go on the run, there's traitors in their midst. The villain is one of the best villains, the most manipulative, smart, incredible villain. The story is self-contained at the end of the 6 episodes, but the final couple of minutes have 2 major twists. One of them I sort of predicted.
Wait a second.
One of them I sort of
I'm
predicted.
just going to be watching this whole waiting for the twist now. I'm not going to watch. I'm going to have to wait now until I forget what you've just said before I can watch this.
And they're setting up season 2. So season 2 is already up there. Season 3 and 4 have.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, yeah, you can watch the 12 episodes.
I'll just sit in the middle of the two series.
Yeah, so basically season 1, season 2 are up there. Season 3 and season 4 I think are either filmed or in the process, but
it
they're
must
coming.
be rubbish if I've never heard of it.
It's highly acclaimed.
Well, a lot of people have said to me that I should watch it.
On Rotten Tomatoes, it has 97% from critics and 93% from.
Okay, that's my next watch.
It's
then.
It's a
Slow
weird
Horses.
thing about Apple, which is that even though so many people have Apple phones and would at some point or another been given free access to it, people don't seem to be going on to it as much as they should.
They should,
with some of the high
Like,
quality stuff that
I'm
they're
giving
doing.
that absolutely 10 out of 10 every week.
Brilliant. Okay,
but it's not even Apple's best show.
No, they've loads of stuff. I mean,
it's not. Ted Lasso or For All Mankind. For All Mankind.
you always love that one.
For All Mankind is the best thing they have. It's amazing.
There's some loads. That prison one is in it. What's the one that you like? The one where they put
Michael
the guy.
Flatley's film.
No, yes, Blackbird.
Yes,
not
that's
Michael
the other
Flatley
one.
film. But that's what you remember. Blackbird's on it.
Yeah.
Everybody's always raving about that.
That's a
My
great show,
daughter
yeah.
watches it there lately.
Yeah.
Loved it.
So
There's
Slow
loads of them.
Horses,
There's,
watch it. Watch it. It's only 6 hours.
Octavia
6
Spencer
hours.
has an awesome show about like podcasting. You know, she has a podcast and she's like
you
goes
told me
into
that before. What's that one called?
I don't know. I need to find. It's so long since I've seen it.
A
but I
show
will
about
find it.
podcasts.
This girl, she is a podcaster,
And she stumbles upon stuff, doesn't she?
stories,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it's about the stories then that she tells.
I'm definitely going to watch some Slow Horses this week. It's
you'd
on
love it, yeah.
Apple, and it's to stream at your leisure.
Yeah.
Greg, Madeleine McDade is an amazing woman. This year, she's the director, the ticket organizer, the PRO and actress. On top of this, she works full-time. Thank you from the cast of I'm the One for You. Again, I was referencing these many individuals that we have, not just in Donegal, but elsewhere as well, that just do amazing stuff in the community. It's astonishing. Kevin from Dunlow, good morning to you. Hi, Greg and TV duo. Down to the last episode of The White Lotus. It's been a slow but wacky watch. But having watched Jennifer Coolidge at the Globes, she's facing her own Greek tragedy. By the way, Greg, E.T. was 40 years ago too, but thankfully phone lines have improved. Okay.
Took a second for me to get that.
It must be an awful thing actually making films now with phones. Not that it's a direct reference to that, because you always have to give an excuse as to why the phone doesn't work.
Yeah,
because it solves so many
problems. Yeah.
All right, let us take a very quick break. Back with more from Michael and Fanula in a sec.
Keep out the cold, 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 and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Transform your home with a visit to McGinley's Furniture Letterkenny, located at the Portlink Business Park just off the Port Road. You'll find a huge selection of top quality suites, beds and mattresses, also slide robes and custom-made dining and occasional furniture, with prices to suit every budget. See the great choice for yourself at our showroom, McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. Click mcginleysfurniture.com.
Wet n Wild is 20 years in business and would like to thank and reward our loyal customers with a massive 20% off absolutely every product purchased in store during the month of February. Choose from our massive in-store stock of quality outdoor clothing, footwear, equipment and accessories, and 20% discount of all prices will be applied at the till.
Foyleside, at the centre of more for your euro, with great value gifts. So it's worth making the journey wherever you live. With convenient parking, late nights and all your favourite brands, you're better off shopping at Foyleside. See foyleside.co.uk.
Fabric World's biggest ever winter sale is now on. There's over 5,000 metres of curtain and upholstery now half price or less. All craft and dress fabrics reduced and lining from £1. Why not insulate your home with half price fleece interlining or avail of our fabulous Euro rates at Fabric World Maydown, Derry.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. From March 26th, Aer Lingus will operate a daily service to London Heathrow, providing onward connections to 80 plus destinations worldwide. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, we'll get to the more immediate weather in a moment, but we want to talk about a weather event or potential weather event that a lot of people out there are talking about. And Alan O'Reilly from Carlow Weather Channel joins us now to discuss this. Good morning, Alan. Thanks for your time again this Friday morning.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, okay, so you listen, paper never refuses ink, and I'm reading an awful lot of stories about something that's happening now, happened before the east, beast from the east, and that it could be replicated and we could see some extreme weather. So let's break it down. What is happening in our stratosphere now that happened before beast of the east and the relationship to the weather and all that kind of stuff, Alan?
Yeah, so we have what's called sudden stratospheric warming, or just SSW for that mouthful, which basically means that temperatures in the stratosphere are increasing or going to increase in the next week, which creates a different kind of scenario in the on top of the polar vortex up in the stratosphere. So when the temperature changes dramatically, it can reverse the winds, which is what we call a major sudden stratospheric warming event. In simple terms, things very high up in the atmosphere are going to go in reverse. Now, the thing about it is that did happen in 2018, and that was followed by the beast from the east and very cold weather. However, it also happened in 2019, and it was followed by not only normal weather. So the first thing is you're not going to see any headlines telling you that this is going to be the same as 2019 when nothing happened. So if you're, because I've got a lot of people messaging me, Greg, who are worried about the heating bills and they're worried about the cost of this, to getting their ESB bills and their gas bills and filling up the oil tanks after Christmas. The main thing is not to panic, not to worry. There is no guarantee that we're going to see a beast from the east. In fact, it's probably at least less than 50-50 chance that we'll see cold. I don't even mean beast from the east, I just mean cold. So it does increase our chances of seeing more blocked northern kind of colder weather like we saw in December, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. And even if we do see colder weather with blocked, it doesn't mean it's going to be anything like what we saw in 2018. So for the moment, it's wait and see. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks for any impacts, if there are any impacts, to come down and really see it on our levels.
And you make a really good point too, in terms of, weather forecasting, all that sensational weather stuff, which we all kind of love, Alan. It's some of the most clicked stuff on websites and what have you. But because it means so much to people now in terms of the cost of living and what have you. I think those newspaper headlines or wherever they are take on a different, importance for people. So when we talk about us, right, is it likely that this event in the stratosphere will create cold weather somewhere? Do you know what I mean? Is it that it might not reach us, or it might not generate this weather event anywhere at all?
It may not reach the troposphere, which is the area closer to us, which means it won't really have any impact at all. But there are chances, the chances of it having some impact are higher than normal. But even if it does have an impact, you're dead right in terms of that. It could bring very cold weather to parts of, say, for example, east of England. We could see the beast from the east come as far as England and not reach us. I mean, this morning it was 10 degrees in many parts of Ireland. It was -5 degrees in parts of central UK. So, we have to be careful as well, because I know a lot of, especially, a lot of people looking for weather stories will find stories from the UK and they'll find headlines in the UK, and that may not apply to us. So, yes, even if we do see an impact on the lower atmosphere, it may not reach us. But really, the main thing for now is let's enjoy the next couple of days where it's going to be mainly dry, and let's not worry about what's going to happen in 2 weeks' time, because if I could tell you that, Greg, I wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be off doing the lottery.
You'd still talk to us. Come here. Funny you mentioned, weather stories from England being sort of transcribed for us here. We get that in the Northwest, weather events in Dublin, because they obviously get more attention in the national media, and then people presume whatever's about to happen in Dublin, it's presented as if it will happen everywhere. But sure, we know that's simply not the case all the time. Listen, Alan, thanks for your time. Have a great weekend.
Cheers, you too, Greg.
Take care. Bye-bye. Alan O'Reilly of Carlow Weather. So we may see the chances of extreme cold weather have slightly increased, but there's no guarantees because this event in the stratosphere has happened in the past and nothing came from it. All right, there you go. But we have an obsession with the weather. We love talking about the weather, Michael, don't we?
Big time, yeah. It's a comfort area in conversation, you know. It's something you comfortably chat about, you know.
Okay. You mentioned, it was off air, you mentioned that you tried the Pamela Anderson documentary, but you just weren't in the frame of mind for it, is it? Or was it a turn off?
We talked about it last week and we kind of said, well, naturally, you boys didn't bother. We talked about it last week and we said we would watch it and talk about it this week, but I kind of watched the first beginning of it and I was
just weren't in the zone, or it just was not really engaging?
I suppose it's kind of a story that you already know, so it's very much like said. It's getting very good reviews, and she's coming across very well in it, and she's getting very positive.
Friends of mine have seen it. Two guys who neither of them would be into Baywatch or into her, and watched
Unlike
it,
you.
and said to me, "You'd love it. She comes across as a lovely person in it." This is what they both said to me.
To some extent,
really
I think
nice
even in the show, she did come off as a sympathetic. I don't want to rehash what we said, but she did come off quite a sympathetic character, I think, in the TV show. I watched the first episode of that dog show that you mentioned as well.
It's insane.
It's just a wee bit off the chain.
The rich dog, the dog who has yachts and things.
It's like, I mean, it's probably interesting.
Did you find the Italian?
What I don't understand is, and maybe it becomes clear as it goes on, it's what's Someone's Millions. What's the name of the dog's Millions again? Gunther's Millions. Like, I'm not clear. People aren't whistleblowing. The organisation seem very complicit in it, in the making of this, obviously. Yeah. And it's kind of warts and all, as if they've said, right, this has been a secret long enough, let's just throw it out there. You know, you've got the lawyer who's still the lawyer, who's, you know, quite honest.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got the head guy, whose name escapes me at the moment. And it's all like, we thought he needed a yacht. So I thought it was all going to be cloaks and daggers, but it's really quite out there. They are quite,
even when it ends up becoming temporarily becoming a sex cult, they're very much like, well, that was strange how that ended up becoming a sex cult. And then they get rid of it and they move on to the next thing, which in turn slowly starts ebbing towards the direction of becoming a sex cult. And then they stop and they do something else again.
Money is so corruptive.
It's basically, that's really what it is. It's not that any of them kind of feel bad about what they've done, or it's not like it's like somebody who's escaped from this life.
In the first episode,
like their spokesperson is still the spokesperson.
Of course, exactly. And the girl that she speaks negatively of her boss, effectively, which I thought, hold on a second. But anyway, also there's this bit where the dog, they buy Madonna's mansion, right? And the dog goes over to buy the mansion, and it's just a dog, right? And then the part of it is like the media's all shocked that it wasn't actually the dog. It was a clone dog or a replacement dog or
because
a stunt
the dog can't live forever.
Yeah,
so
but they had a
it's
stunt dog. And I was like, well, the press were really upset that the dog that was buying the mansion wasn't the actual dog. Anyway, that's how bizarre it is.
That's what I mean. You go for the dog, stay for the crazy. That's it's just the bizarreness of it is what'll keep you watching.
And there is good access, and I think the best documentaries have good access to the subject matter or good footage of it. And that for me is always the under. But I'll tell you one thing, right? The next documentary maker that knowingly asks questions on camera
without a microphone,
but doesn't put a microphone on.
You're just going to track them down and give them a good talking to.
It's just you don't understand what the point is. So many of them do it.
Just put a microphone on.
You just think it must be something that they're taught in film school. You're like,
it's 100% that. It is 100%
that. What is the? I don't understand what the reasoning is. You know, like
because it feels sort of. It feels
edgy
like
and real.
they feel like, oh, I'm a journalist and I just thought of a good question, and I didn't know I was going to ask the question because it just come to me and I didn't have a mic and. Just put a microphone on.
Yeah, it's just that I can never understand exactly what the premise is or the reasoning, because everything has a reason behind it.
Michael Leddy's gone because he only had two things, which I think he's trying to send us a message. So, what do you want to pick out here? Because, as I say, stuff goes down here, and then do you just want to both talk about the 90s show? Because you've got it down on the list. You've had it down previously. So. Is it any good? What is the basis of these shows?
It's brilliant.
Basically, if you remember back in the day, the 70s show was out.
No, I don't.
And
you're too young.
The 70s show was just all about a group of teenagers. The 70s show came out in the 90s, and it was about a group of teenagers in the 70s. It was really a sitcom. It was like a
It was very
show.
like Friends.
Right, okay.
Very like Friends.
It was about this small group of friends. It's where Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, Topher Grace. The redhead one was already something enough.
Laura Prepon.
So you
who
sort
I
of,
adore.
the idea being you watch it and you sort of remember the 70s.
The 70s,
That's
yeah.
it,
Bit of
exactly.
nostalgia there.
That's
as well.
exactly what it was. So it was
And the main character was obsessed with a brand new film called Star Wars, and he kept talking about it.
And it just was all these, and they were sitting around in their basement playing. It was very nice, really fun. Now, obviously, we had connections to people of our age because we would have been. Well, I was younger in the 70s than a teenager, but you still would have memories of stuff like that, of things that they were talking about, things that were happening. The parents, Deborah Jo Rupp and Kurtwood Smith, played the parents, were fantastic.
Best thing about it, Red is the best character in the show, the father.
What they've done now is they've moved forward, and basically 2 of the characters in the 70s show got married and they had a kid, and this is that kid doing the exact same thing.
Natural progression.
Staying with her grandfather and grandma for the summer.
For the summer and
of 1996, isn't it? 1995,
We're
96.
down to 60 seconds.
This is a very funny show. It's every bit as good as the original. It includes a lot of the cast of the original, and particularly Kurtwood Smith as Red, who is so good in this, and Deborah Jo Rupp as she's fabulous. And I'm about halfway through the season. I'm warming to the new kids. Warming to the new kids.
It's 50-50 on nose at the moment.
We should have we time, Greg, myself and Vanilla, we'll arm wrestle it out and decide whether this is a good show or not. I'm on for an arm wrestle. Let's do it. Let's do it. Arm wrestle.
I don't want to humiliate you on
what about edgy journalism, Greg? What about edgy
Not journalism.
It's worth checking into. It's not doing
maybe
very
wrestling,
well.
sort of in the sports entertainment, but it's not journalism.
You gave that a lot of thought.
All right, listen.
It's on Netflix. People can watch it and judge for themselves. But
don't.
It's
But
not
if
that
you
it's
like, if you back Michael, you do. If you back Fionnuala, you don't. Listen, thanks so much, for joining us. We really appreciate it. Michael, Letty, Fionnuala Rabbit, back with you, all being well, next Friday. That's where we have to leave it on the show. Thanks very much for listening to the programme, getting involved in it. Thanks to Donna Marie, who researched and produced. Have a great weekend. We're back with you on Monday at 9. Stay tuned. John Breslin's coming up around the Northwest.
Foy & Company are the Northwest's